The Toronto Argonauts sit atop the standings in the Eastern Conference, hoping to extend their lead over Winnipeg and Hamilton. You're looking live at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa, where all that's left for the Rough Riders is to be the spoilers. Toronto versus Ottawa as the road to the Grey Cup continues.
Sports presents the CFL on CBC.
A big turnover in the offseason created a wide-open competition for the Chemley Award that goes to the CFL's Rookie of the Year. Last year, the unanimous winner was the Toronto Argonauts' brilliant running back, Gil the Thrill Fenerty. The Argos hope to retain the award this year as wide receiver and kick returner Pernell Moore, who caught a dozen passes for over 200 yards last week. The best-known Ottawa Rough Rider ever to win Rookie of the Year honors was quarterback Tom Clements 13 years ago. The Riders feel their only bright spot has a lock on the award this year. Running back Orville Lee is on his way to a 1,000-yard season. It may be the CFL's two best rookies are in the same game today. We welcome our viewers from wherever you're watching.
우리는 서울에서 돌아왔습니다. 이제 CBC의 CFL을 볼 차례입니다.
The CFL on CBC. Brought to you by Carling O'Keefe, brewers of Foster's Lager, the Golden Throat Charmer. Petro-Canada dealers and agents. Our energy is Canada. And by Priority Post EMS Courier, your better business connection in Canada and around the world.
When we left for Seoul, the Ottawa Rough Riders had but one victory. We're back. They still have one win and many more losses to go with it. But hope springs eternal here at Lansdowne Park. It's why the fans keep coming out in support of the team with a record of 1-12. A record of 9-4 will get you first place, and the Argonauts can move a step closer to wrapping it up today. When last heard from, Don and Ron were calling Olympic basketball on the other side of the world. Anoya Seo. Hello, Don.
Kamsahamnida, Scott, and yes, I think I speak for all of us when I say we're happy to be back home. Ron Lancaster, although the Toronto Argonauts are in first place, they may have difficulty hanging on to that #1 position in the East without running back Gil Fenerty.
Well, I think when you lose a guy like Fenerty, and right now he could be gone for the season, so if they're going to finish on top, they need to get a running back that can get that offense going. Lorenzo Graham gets his shot today. The rookie from Livingston hasn't played much, only 45 yards. But the offense can go well if they can get Pernell Moore to help out Jeff Boyd on that passing game. These two guys alone can solidify the Toronto Argonaut offense. Only two bright spots for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Running back Orville Lee with the shot at 1,000 yards. That's been the most productive backfield performer they've had all year. Gerald Elfin, on the other hand, the only guy that's been there game in, game out, over 1,000 yards of offense. He's the big threat man for the Rough Riders.
Well, with Gil Fenerty out of the lineup, there will be more pressure on the defense over the final few games of the season, and the Argos are counting upon the guys up front to do the job.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season, they relied on their linebackers to do the work, but right now, these three guys up front, along with newcomer Don Baldwin, they get to the quarterback, and that's key, and particularly Rodney Harding. He's had 5 quarterback sacks against the Edmonton Eskimos alone, so they're getting the pressure where they need it.
And even though the Ottawa Rough Riders have won just one game this season, the Toronto Argonauts are certainly not taking this team lightly. The Argos and the Ottawa Rough Riders just about set to go. Right now, let's go back to Scott.
Don, when we were gone, Ben Zambiazzi got back into the game. The former great with the Hamilton Tiger Cats hopes to be that with the Toronto Argonauts for what's left of this CFL season. He'll join us live on Inside the CFL at halftime. We'll have a feature report on Argo receiver Jeff Boyd, who is not a happy man. We'll find out why on Inside the CFL. Stay with us. The kickoff is next.
I think I'm kind of exciting on the field. I'm not one of the bigger stars of the league, but I'm trying. Well, basically, I'll tell you what, if you want to go out and watch great entertainment, it's family entertainment. It's unbelievable. You want fast pace, it's like a hockey game. There's people always moving around on the field. It's great for your kids to get out. They get to see the players, and you can get autographs, you can talk to them. Plus, I got a headband. I'll tell you what, I got the greatest headband in the world. No one else in the league wears a bandana like I do. There, come see me.
The sun has broken through as the temperature here in the nation's capital matches the date on this Thanksgiving weekend, 8 degrees, as we prepare for the kickoff. And the referee this afternoon, the man in charge, is Jake Ireland. He and the other members of the officiating staff are moving into position to get this game underway. Hank Alisic preparing to kick off for Toronto, and he's kicking to Orville Lee and Derek White. The Toronto Argonauts with a 9-4 record and a 4-point advantage over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. The Ticats now 7-7 following their 25-21 loss last night to the BC Lions. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers are 7-6, and the Bombers are at home on Thanksgiving afternoon to the Edmonton Eskimos and will be at Winnipeg Stadium to bring you that game between the Blue Bombers and the Edmonton Eskimos. The Eskimos, the #1 team in the West, with a record of 9-4, the same as the Argonauts possess to lead the Eastern Division. Alisic gets the signal, and this game is underway. It bounces in front of Orville Lee. He had a difficult time trying to handle that ball. Picked up by Patrick Wayne, and Wayne fights his way out to about the 35-yard line.
Well, the Ottawa Rough Riders, Jeff Wickersham is now the quarterback, #7, LSU product, 210 pounds. As we said, Orville Lee's in the backfield, having an outstanding season. Jim Reed, the 10-year veteran, still the fullback. He's the guy that does most of the blocking. Wide receivers, Reggie Ward and Remy Watson. Ken Averes finally gets to play in the slot. The offensive line been together most of the year now.
First and 10, they'll scrimmage from the 33, and the handoff goes to Orville Lee. Tries to cut it back inside, and Willie Pless came up from his linebacking position with help from Rodney Harding to make the tackle.
You know, they're talking about Orville Lee gaining 1,000 yards this year. He's going to have a very difficult time running against the Toronto Argonaut defense. They're only giving up about 87 yards a game on the ground, and that's tops in the CFL.
Well, Gil Fennerty, of course, out of the Toronto Argonaut lineup. He led the league 968 yards prior to his injury, and Orville Lee came into this game with 783 yards. Pass is complete to Gerald Alphin, the leading receiver in the CFL, and he has an Ottawa first down.
Well, we said this defense will get to the quarterback, but if you're going to get rid of the ball this fast, it's going to be hard on these four guys. Don Baldwin is now the defensive end, along with those front three. They give him a good pass rush. Seems funny to see him with only 3 linebackers. Ben Zambiazzi is going to be a big one for him down the stretch. And in the secondary, Ed Berry plays the left corner where Carl Brazeley normally plays.
First and 10, Ottawa from midfield. This game just underway at Lansdowne Park. Wickersham to Alphin again. Another first down as he's forced out of bounds by Berry. It appears, Ron, that Wickersham is planning to test Berry early.
Well, I think you have to test any new guy that comes into that secondary. You go after him in a hurry and see what he's made of. The longer you don't go after him, the more confidence he gets. Just a down-and-out pattern to Alphin. Clear out the corner with a wide receiver, and no one goes with him. And this is the guy that's got to make the big plays for Ottawa if they're going to win.
The ball is at the 42 of Toronto. First and 10 for the Rough Riders. Jeff Wickersham, the starting quarterback. Hand off to Orville Lee. There's a penalty flag on the play. Lee will have a gain of about 7, maybe 8 yards, but there was a penalty flag back at the line of scrimmage. Wickersham's indication is that it's against the Toronto Argonauts, and that's the signal confirmed by referee Jake Ireland. An offside call against the Toronto Argonauts. I'm sure they'll take the penalty and have a first and 5 situation.
Offside. Toronto number 70. Declined. Second down.
Well, I stand corrected.
Well, he got 8 yards. That always helps, so it makes it 2nd and 2.
I think I'd still be inclined to go first and 5.
Well, that's the decision you have to make, and sometimes you make the wrong one you wish you had.
Orville Lee.
Might have a measure.
He is going to be down to about the 31-yard line, probably close enough for a measurement as he was brought down by Glenn Kulka. He had to get, I believe, just beyond the 31-yard line, and he appears to be outside the 31. Last night, as we mentioned, the BC Lions defeating the Hamilton Tiger Cats. As the first down for Ottawa is confirmed, and we'll see Orville Lee struggle for that necessary yardage for another Ottawa first down.
Well, he runs into Glenn Kulka at about 270 pounds this year. Orville Lee, though, at 190 pounds, he's very powerfully built for a running back.
Tomorrow afternoon, Calgary is at Saskatchewan, and on Monday, as we mentioned earlier, Edmonton is at Winnipeg. Gerald Elf and the intended receiver. It will be 2nd and 10.
Getting a little bit of work outside. Take Remy Watson, number 81, the wide receiver, run him down the field and hope to catch him in man coverage. That forces Barry to go with him, and then just break Elfin out to the sidelines. Just a little bit too far, but he was open again.
Wickersham, 6'2", 210 pounds, out of Louisiana State. He goes to Alphen, and he is unable to hang on to the throw as he was knocked down by Selwyn Drain.
They bring Watson in there, try to kind of pick off Selwyn Drain, but Selwyn Drain saw it coming that time and got around him. And when the ball arrived, he arrived. See him going inside. All he wants to do is force Selwyn Drain to go wide. The ball's a little bit high, and he doesn't pull it down. Hits his knee coming down, and Selwyn Drain gives him a good shot.
Tom Dixon will be attempting a field goal from the 39-yard line. People were asking questions yesterday of Coach Bob Weber about the Ottawa place kicking this year, and he indicated that Dixon would be the man till the end of the season, and he's good on his first field goal try from 39 yards out. And it's a 3-0 Ottawa Rough Rider lead with 12-12 remaining in the quarter. Well, there are many who have held Tom Dixon responsible for some of the problems that the Ottawa Rough Riders have had this year. They have felt that he could have won a couple of games for them, and there's no doubt that with successful field goals, the situation could have been reversed, but Dixon is off to a good start against the Toronto Argonauts, hitting on his first field goal attempt from 39 yards out. This kickoff is picked up by Ben Zambiasi. Penalty flag on the play as Zambiasi is brought down at the 48-yard line.
Holding. Toronto number 73.
The holding call against Jim Kardash, and that will bring it back. And they'll spot the ball at the 35-yard line. That's where Gilbert Renfro will direct the Toronto offense.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about Renfro as time goes on, but the big thing is Lorenzo Graham, the running back, the rookie, getting his opportunity to maybe become the running back in the Argonaut offense. Pernell Moore, the rookie, and Nastasiuk in the slot. And the offensive line, they got Schultz and Perron back now. They're healthy, and this is a big plus for the Argonauts.
Jeff Boyd, who will be featured at halftime, goes wide to the left. Pass over the middle to the slot back. Darrell Smith incomplete. Renfro got Smith in between two defenders, but the throw was just a little high.
A little bit high, thrown inside. He's got to throw it high to get it over the linebackers, but I think we're going to have to take a look, see how soon they test Derek White, number 31, on the corner for the Rough Riders. His first game, he's a rookie, and he's got Jeff Boyd to handle. We'll have to take a look, see just how much success he can have.
The Rough Riders went to work early on the new corner for the Argos, Barry. Will Toronto reciprocate? Jeff Boyd, the receiver, and Boyd is going to have a first down.
Wise thing, made the curl inside, the turn-in pattern, caught the ball, started to make a move outside, thought better of it because he needs the first down, so he just turned around and went right into the ground.
Boyd off to a slow start after being acquired by Toronto in a trade with Winnipeg, but he has made his presence felt in the last half dozen games.
Well, just last week, on 8 receptions, 115 yards, when Gilbert Renfro had a great day throwing the football.
First and 10, the ball is at the 46-yard line. This is Lorenzo Graham, big hole! Caught from behind by Troy Wilson, but not before Graham. It's scampered down to the 34-yard line.
Well, he goes right in behind Ian Beckstone and Dan Peroni, who we said is back healthy now after that groin injury. Makes the cut to the inside and then just uses speed. He comes out of Livingston. Here he comes. Line blocks, cuts right in behind, all the way behind Randy Ambrosi before he found the hole, and only Troy Wilson's speed kept him from going the distance. But that's a good start for the rookie.
First and 10, Toronto at the 34 of the Ottawa Rough Riders. Renfro throwing deep, just a little too far for Paul Nastasiuk. He was with the Ottawa Rough Riders earlier this year, and he was acquired by Toronto in the trade that saw Dan Sellers move over to Ottawa, that trade late in August.
Well, that defense opened up just the way Renfro had to hope it would, but when Nastasiuk went right down the middle, there was nobody there. He just got it up in the air too far.
Pavel Bilovich very pleased with the performance of Gilbert Renfro. In his last 6 games, he has passed for over 2,000 yards.
And he's going to get better every game and every season, Don.
2nd and 10. Lots of time. And then time runs out as Ralph Jarvis is there. And the loose ball is picked up by the Ottawa Rough Riders. Are they ruling, though, that Renfro was down?
Well, I don't know. I look down there, and I look and see Dan Ferroni standing there with the football. So, watch the time. He does have time to throw the football. Look at him. He's standing there looking around. You only get about 3.5 seconds. He's had that plus some. Coming from the outside, number 67, newcomer Ralph Jarvis knocks the ball loose. But I think the Argonauts held on to it.
It was Dan Ferrone who pulled it out of that scrum. And the Toronto Argonauts retain possession, and Lance Chomik will try and put the Argos back on even terms with a field goal attempt out of the hold of John Kangemi from the 46-yard line. It's good. So with 9:40 remaining in the opening quarter here at Lansdowne Park, the Argos and the Rough Riders are tied at 3.
Players almost too numerous to mention have stood on the Ottawa sidelines this season. The Rough Riders have had more than their share of injuries. Add to that the constant search for a winning formula. You'll understand why the Riders have made, since their opening game of the season, 9 changes on defense, 6 on offense. From the start of the year, the quarterbacks are new. There are 2 new wide receivers, and 4 of the 6 linebackers who began the season in Ottawa are now gone. So over half the Ottawa starting lineup is new from the first game of the season. Don, your depth chart's been getting a workout.
It's been getting a workout indeed, Scott. The Toronto Argonauts have also been forced to make some changes. Leo Cahill, the general manager, had an interesting comment prior to the game. We'll tell you a little more about that as the game progresses. He was referring to the changes that have been made. He said one of the things you have to do is let the people work their way onto the roster and become familiar with the system. They get the opportunity to go through training camp. He said when you keep bringing people in and changing people, no one is familiar with what the other people do, and he said you can't get any continuity.
Well, 9-6 is 15 changes out of 24 starters, and you got a 1-12 record. That should tell you something.
For some of the changes that Leo Cahill has made have certainly been quality people as well. Some of the personnel that he has been forced to bring in as the result of injuries. Remy Watson, the intended receiver, Jeff Wickersham trying to throw the ball to him. Scott does look a little out of place in those sidelines without a plate of kimchi in front of him, though, don't you think, Ron?
Oh, he looks different. We got to get him moving around a little bit. He's going to freeze standing down there. Ed Berry, the newcomer for the Toronto Argonauts, takes Carl Braisley's spot. Going to get an illegal use of the hands call.
Jake Ireland explaining the options to Laurent Delorier and Don Moen.
I know it's 2nd down and 9. I don't think there's much decision. Decline the penalty and make them kick the football to you.
Major foul. Unnecessary roughness. Toronto number 38.
Oh.
First down.
Ben Zambiazza didn't know that one.
The veteran linebacker who spent his career with the Hamilton Tiger Cats prior to joining the Toronto Argonauts for their last game against Calgary. And Ben will be with Scott Oak at halftime. It must seem a little strange for Ben to be wearing the double blue of the longtime hated rivals of the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
That's what you have to wonder. You know, the black and gold from Hamilton and the double blue Argonauts never did get along very well. But Zambazzi's happy to be playing football.
Reed on the first down play is stopped right at the 51-yard line by Glenn Kulka. They'll actually credit Reed with a gain of 1, make it 2nd and 9.
You mentioned Leo Cahill, and he's got such outstanding contacts in the football world that it's amazing whenever they've needed a football player, he has come up with them, and that's one of the reasons for success of the Argonauts.
Wickersham was looking for Watson. It's incomplete, and it will be 3rd and 9.
First series of downs, Wickersham had a lot of success rolling out, hitting Elfin in the flat. He did it 2 straight times. He came back in the second series. He's tried it to the right. He's tried it to the left. The Argonauts switched to defense, rolled the corner up, went to a zone. There's no place to throw that kind of a pattern against that defense.
Wickersham a year late in becoming the starting quarterback with the Rough Riders. Many anticipated that he would be the #1 man last year until he was hurt at training camp. Didn't get back into the lineup until this season. after Todd Dillon and Art Schleister had their opportunities to direct the attack. Reggie Pleasant taking that short kickoff, and he is stopped at the 36-yard line.
The thing we want to talk about with Gilbert Renfro, Don, is it's a bad thing to say that the injury to Gilbert Renfro has forced him to become a quarterback now. Bob Obilovich is talking about how well he's throwing the football, how well he's reading the defenses. But Gilbert was always anxious, as any young quarterback is, to run. When that injury hit him, he doesn't run as well. He's had to learn to stand in a pocket, read a defense, and he's going to get better every season from now on.
Lorenzo Graham bounces off the first tackle, but he can't get away from Jarvis. And he is stopped after a gain of 1. That last punt traveled just 23 yards. Ken Braden, the linebacker, came up to fill the hole, and that's the man that Lorenzo Graham initially bounced off into the arms of Ralph Jarvis.
Well, when you make your decision to turn as a running back and take a hole, you take it. And Braden had filled it for him, so he had to bounce outside. But when you do that, there should be someone waiting for you, and Jarvis was there.
It's 2nd and 9 for the Toronto Argonauts. Little swing pass to Graham coming out of the backfield. He'll be stopped well short of the first down. He may have advanced the football about a yard.
Yeah, that's not the primary receiver. He put the strength of the wide side of the field, was hoping to hit Pernell Moore down and out. When he was covered, he had to come off to Graham, who's a safety valve, but 3 black jerseys prevented him from going anywhere.
6:54 of the time remaining in this opening quarter. The score tied at 3. A 39-yard field goal by Tom Dixon, and a 42-yard field goal by Lance Chomick. Orville Lee and Will Lewis are back for this 3rd down kick by Hank Alisic. He'll be kicking with a following breeze. He nailed that one. Chases Will Lewis back to the 15-yard line, or Orville Lee, I should say, and he is stopped at the 21. A 57-yard kick by Hank Alisic. The Rough Runners are 1st and 10 from their own 21-yard line. Ward comes wide to the left. Alphen in motion. Wickersham rolls right, throws incomplete, intended for Jim Reed.
Oh, he got a lot of pressure real quick from Baldwin and Harding. If he could have held it just a second longer, Reed had hardly turned around. It makes it an impossible catch point, but he had to unload it.
Jim Reed, a veteran out of Wilfrid Laurier, came to the Ottawa Rough Riders in a trade with Hamilton in 1980. That school has produced a lot of good football players.
Well, right now, the Laurier Golden Hawks are sitting 4-1 in that OUAA, right behind Western Ontario. They're one of the favorites.
Larry Moore in for Orville Lee, but nobody was there to pick up a blitzing Selwyn Drain.
You have to look for Selwyn Drain in the Argonaut defense. He's got 4 sacks on the year, and he seems to be the guy they like to blitz from that safety position, and they've had a lot of success with it. You'll see him sneaking into the right of your picture, and there's no one there to block him. Here he comes. Quarterbacks do not like to look up and see a halfback on a blitz. You have no chance to get away from him.
Tom Dixon stands back at his own 5-yard line for this 3rd down kick. Remember, the last kick off the toe of Dixon traveled just 23 yards. This one isn't a great deal better. Although he does get a good bounce, and Pernell Moore has no chance to run it back as he steps out of bounds at his own 53. A 34-yard kick by Tom Dixon. In all fairness to Dixon, he is kicking into the wind.
Yeah, the wind's picked up a little bit here this morning. I thought it was going to be a nice, calm day when we got out this morning, but it's a little more chilly than was anticipated, and the wind's picked up.
3-3 is the score with 5:41 remaining in the opening quarter. It's 1st and 10 for the Argos. They are at their own 53-yard line. Jeff Boyd goes wide to the left, Pernell Moore to the right. Lorenzo Graham fights his way to the 52 of the Ottawa Rough Riders before being stopped by defensive end Hassan Abubakar. Bob Obilovich, the winningest coach in Toronto Argonaut history, as far as his
he's done a great
percentage
job.
of wins and losses go.
Does a great job. Seems to come up with people when they need it. He gets the best out of them.
It helps when you have a quarterback who can throw strikes like Gilbert Renfro into the arms of Paul Nastasia.
They put those 3 receivers to the one side of the field. The inside receiver in this case was Hudson, went out in the flat, caught Ottawa on a man-to-man defense, and when Nastasiuk turned inside, there was nothing there. No help from the defensive secondary, no linebackers. Gilbert will throw that in there all day if they give it to him.
First and 10 for the Argos. They are at the 39. It's Lorenzo Graham taking the handoff to the 35-yard line, upset there by Arbabakar.
He's going to get pretty good yards out of that. He's going to get 5 or 6, but they forced him to cut back. And when you force him to cut back, you should run into that backside defensive end coming down the line. And Arbabakar was there, but not before he got 5.
That's a definite change for the Ottawa Rough Riders up front from the team we last saw. Arbabakar, Paziano, and Jarvis. The front 3 with 4 linebackers. 2 of them are new as well, Gadsden and Hummel. Renfro can't find a receiver, tries to take off, but he is caught from behind again by Arbabakar.
Well, you know from where that play come from what this is going to be.
Holding. Toronto number 51.
Randy Ambrosi, who plays that right guard position, a University of Manitoba product, guilty of that holding call. Previously played in the CFL with the Calgary Stampeders.
Randy Ambrosi blocking on Jarvis, number 67. See, he's got a pretty good hold of him. There goes the flag. He's caught. He's the one to the left of the screen there. He had an awful good hold of that jersey.
Third and about 3 for the Argos, so Lance Chomik comes into the ball game to attempt his second field goal, this from the 39-yard line. His first came from 3 yards further back. And again, John Kangemi holds. This one is wide. It bounces close to the dead ball line, but stays in the end zone for a single point. Chomik can't believe he missed that one because he was dead in front of the uprights, 39 yards away. And with 3:22 remaining in the opening quarter, it's now a 4-3 Toronto Argonaut lead.
Chomik also had a big day last week. Kicked 7 field goals for the Argonauts. He's very consistent usually from inside that 40-yard range. He had to be shocked when he missed that one.
First and 10. The Ottawa Rough Riders scrimmaging from the 35-yard line. Orville Lee tries to cut off tackle, and Don Moen, the linebacker, came over quickly to make the stop.
That time they dropped Don Moen into the interior linebacking position and lined up Ben Zambiasi as the outside defensive end coming on the rush. So Zambiasi is going to add a big dimension to the Argonaut defense.
Many fine young players in the Canadian Football League this year. Many feel that Orville Lee is the best. His statistics would certainly indicate that he is a leading candidate for Rookie of the Year honors. Willie Pless, I think before that ball even arrived, was thinking touchdown because all he had to do was catch it and he was gone. There was nobody anywhere near him. Gerald Elfin, the intended receiver.
Yeah, Elfin split out there. They rolled the corner up, which made it appear that the opening was in the inside seam. But Willie Pless took a step back and saw Elfin and anticipated it just the way a linebacker would love to do. Watch him step right in front of this. It looked like Elfin was open, but watch number 32 step right in the line. If he catches that, he just kind of jogs in for the touchdown.
Good third down kick by Dixon. This chases Pernell Moore back to the 30-yard line. Patrick Wayne is there to make sure he gets no further than the 37. Ken Braden was also there to assist in the tackle.
Well, I was wondering, he really took a good hit. Took one of those ones low and high, which kind of flips you, and that can happen to you.
And Pernell Moore is still down, and this could be a big, big blow to the Toronto Argonauts, because not only has he developed into a top receiver, he is also their leading punt returner. He has returned 2 for touchdowns this year, including 1 early in the year against the Ottawa Rough Riders.
We're going to take a look at it. He's going to cut back up inside and coming from the backside. Here comes Wayne, 35, and Braden underneath. So they kind of sandwich him, and that leg is on the ground. Look at that bending in that right knee. This doesn't look good.
Well, that reverse angle certainly showed the hit that Braden put on that knee as he had planted that right knee to make the cut Wayne hit him high, and Braden coming in low to make the tackle, and Pernell Moore is down and appears to be in considerable pain.
And not only the foot was planted, but you got another 235 pounds in Wayne on your shoulder, so when Braden hit that, it had to give.
5'9", 175 pounds out of Central State. That's been a good school for the Argos.
Sure has. They got Darrell Smith and Kevin Cummings, the DI today, the running back. They're from Central State. That's located in the southern part of Ohio.
Bob Obilovich showing some concern, and so he might because of the injuries that have been mounting against his first-place Argos. Gil Fenerty, as you pointed out at the start of our telecast, probably won't be back for the year.
We're going to get one more look at it. You'll see that right leg's going to be planted on the next step. Watch Patrick Wayne. Here he comes across the shoulder. 41 comes in just as that foot hits the ground, and you can see the bend, and your leg's not made to bend that way. You know what? He's walking pretty good. He really is. He still could be hurt, but, I mean, he's at least being able to walk.
Fred Dunbar assisting Pernell Moore to the sidelines. Quite a performance in his CFL debut, Pernell Moore, with those punt returns against the Ottawa Rough Riders, including the big one for a touchdown.
You know, you're talking about the injuries to the Argonauts, and one good thing is they got all their injuries in that busy part of the schedule, and they're starting to come back now. Maybe Fenerty won't make it, but that offensive line, they're starting to come back, and that's a big plus for the playoffs.
Dwight Edwards in there in place of Moore as Lorenzo Graham moves it out beyond the 40-yard line before being stopped by Hassan Abubakar. They're checking that right knee. How does it feel, Pernell?
He's not talking.
2nd and 6 from the 41. Again, Lorenzo Graham. He won't get the yardage for a first down, and with 1:30 remaining in the quarter, as Leon Hatziano takes the feet out from under him, the Argos will send out the punting unit.
They pull their backside tackle, Kelvin Prunster, on that to try to lead him around the other side, but the decision to go inside or outside, Prunster didn't make it quick enough, and he got beat to the inside, and that's why Graham was stopped.
Hank Alisic stands at his own 28-yard line. He is kicking to Orville Lee and Will Lewis.
Also, I just look over at the Argonaut bench. Dan Peroni was limping off the field again. He's missed a lot of games this year because of a groin pull. Be anxious to see if he comes back.
Whistle goes before the ball is kicked away.
Time count violation. Toronto number 8.
The Argos taking too long to kick the ball, so they will line up 5 yards further back and try again. It appeared as though they had the right number of players out there. Many times a kicker will deliberately take too much time when he sees that they are a man short. That didn't appear to be a problem. Kick bounces to Lewis. And Lewis is stopped back at the 23-yard line by Jim Kardash. 55 seconds remaining in the quarter. 4-3 is the score. A 52-yard kick by Hank Alisic. Hockey Night in Canada returns to the CBC this evening. 3 games depending upon where you live. You can watch Detroit at Vancouver, Chicago at Toronto, or Minnesota at Montreal. That's tonight on Hockey Night in Canada. Wickersham on the option, pitches to Orville Lee, and Lee wishes he had an option.
Yeah, well, they call that the option. The quarterback gets the option. If they come at him, he pitches it, but if they go at the running back, he's on his own. And I know Wickersham's not going to want to run that play too many more years. That option play is just no good at this level.
He got back to the line of scrimmage. It will be 2nd and 10 from the 23. This could be the final play of the opening quarter. Wickersham will have to run it, and he is brought down by Ben Zambiazzi as time runs out in the first quarter here at Lansdowne Park. The Ottawa Rough Riders will be kicking on third down to start the second quarter. Tom Dixon preparing to kick on third down to start this second quarter. 4-3, the Toronto Argonauts lead. Dixon stands back at his own 8-yard line. Darrell Smith takes it at midfield and manages to pick up about 3 yards before he's surrounded by a group of black and white jerseys. Right now, let's go down to Scott O.
Well, Don, here at the Argo bench, they're still looking at receiver Pernell Moore. The hit he took late in the first quarter was frightful looking, but they think he might have got off lucky. It could be right now that he just has a bruise, and Pernell Moore could be back in this game.
Well, Coach Bob Obilovich would certainly like to see Pernell Moore return to the game, not only for his receiving talents, but also for his kick return ability. First and 10, Toronto. They are at the 53 of the Ottawa Rough Riders. Renfro setting up the screen to Lorenzo Graham. He breaks one tackle and will be very close to a first down.
3 receivers to the wide side of the field try to go backside with a screen to Graham. They missed the block on number 41, Ken Braden, but Braden wasn't able to make the tackle. You can see it. They get it set up. Out goes Ambrosi. You can see the offensive lineman. Here he comes. He's going to get a good block outside, and then it's going to take Rod Brown. Finally cuts the legs out from under him, but he picks up a first and 10.
Lorenzo Graham in there in place of the injured Gil Fennerty. And Ron, earlier you detected that Dan Ferroni was limping as he left the field, and that is the reason for the delay right now. Ferroni is the down Toronto lineman as Fred Dunbar is out there tending to the injured offensive guard.
You get those groin injuries that had to be a severe injury to keep him out of the lineup as long as it did. But he was limping going off the field just as he is now. And when they throw that screen pass, he has to exert himself to get out there in front of it. It just might have aggravated it a little bit more. So those offensive line injuries are still there with the Argonauts.
Jim Kardash comes in to play the guard spot in place of Ferrone, who must go out, of course, for at least one play. It's a first down, Toronto. The ball is just outside the 42 of the Ottawa Rough Riders. 4-3, Toronto leads, 13:54 remaining in the half. Darrell Smith wide open. He finds that open spot between the defenders, and Gilbert Renfro fired the perfect strike, close to a first down.
You know, all the talk about Jeff Boyd and Pernell Moore and so on, but really, that man, Darrell Smith, is still the leading receiver. I think he's caught 49, 4 touchdowns. He just hasn't made those great big catches. Last year, he was their passing attack. He made some key catches for him down the stretch and enabled him to get to the Grey Cup. This year, he's got some help.
Darrell Smith came into the game with 866 yards. He would like to become a member of the 1,000-yard club. Already 4 receivers are in that category.
I think the Argonauts are going to have a shot at 2 guys getting to 1,000 yards. I think Jeff Boyd's got a shot at it too.
First and 10, Toronto. Lorenzo Graham hit in the backfield. He couldn't even get on track before Arbabakar was there to wrap him up.
Arbabakar and number 24, Dan Sellers. And, you know, he has to enjoy this game. He played with these guys for a while and was involved in that trade, as you mentioned earlier. But he's an awful good football player. It's good to see him playing.
He wasn't listed as a starter by the Ottawa Rough Riders coming into the ball game. He backed up every down lineman position and linebacker spot, but he's in there now in a starting assignment, replacing Hummel, and he almost gets to the quarterback, Renfro, who throws deep over the head of Jeff Boyd.
Well, Sellers is a good pass rusher. You know, and he was with the Toronto Argonauts. He would line up at that outside defensive end position. Sometimes he'd run the quarterback. Sometimes he'd drop into pass coverage. And this is what he's trying to do with the Ottawa Rough Riders. It's a surprising thing, Don. They had him listed supposedly as their best pass rusher, but yet they had him listed as a backup. And it's hard to believe that the Ottawa Rough Riders only have 3 defensive linemen dressed, and he may have to go into the defensive line. I know he's hoping nobody gets injured.
Lance Chomick attempting to split the uprights from 41 yards out. He missed on his last try from 39, but this one is good. So it's now a 7-3 Toronto lead with 12:28 left in the half.
Thanksgiving Monday, October 10th, Jim Sandusky leads the Edmonton Eskimos first in the West into Winnipeg Stadium. James Murphy and the Bombers will need a win to keep pace in the Eastern Conference. Capturing the moments. The CFL on CBC. Edmonton at Winnipeg, Monday, October 10th at 3 Eastern.
Well, in this second quarter, the Ottawa Rough Riders are making a quarterbacking change. Mike Greenfield, a 6'2", 195-pound product out of Northwestern, who has only thrown 11 passes this year and completed just 2, replaces Jeff Wickersham.
A little bit early for quarterback change, I thought, but maybe they want to see if he can play.
That hitch screen to Ward, and Ward on his own converts it into a 4-yard gain.
All by himself. He had one blocker in front of him, but the defender got up inside, forced him outside, and they made the tackle. Reggie Ward only had 2 receptions coming into the game out of Notre Dame at 185 pounds. Seems like we've done Ottawa about 3 times this year, and they have new wide receivers every time we see them.
And new quarterbacks.
Well, they do go through some quarterbacks.
Started the year with Todd Dillon, who now, of course, is with the Calgary Stampeders. Fumble in the backfield. Who's got the ball? It's still loose. The Toronto Argonauts, I think, have come up with it.
You can see that coming, Don, right from the start. Right from the start, when Greenfield turned to hand the ball off, he came straight back. The ball carrier had already gone to his left, and you will get these kind of mistakes when you have new quarterbacks, new ball carrier. Watch, he comes back, there's no one to hand to. Now, when you have to reach like that to hand the ball off, you will get a fumble. Quarterbacks should never have their arm fully extended when they hand the ball off. They got to be close enough to give it to them nice and easy.
Willie Pless is the man who came up with the football, so the first offensive series for Mike Greenfield is something less than successful. First and 10, Toronto at the 31. Complete to Darrell Smith. He fumbles the ball, but he was out of bounds. Boy, he's been getting open.
The thing that's about it is Renfro had a lot of time to stand back there. He looked to his right, turned, looked to his left. He had Boyd going deep, and then bang, comes off to Darrell Smith, and he's wide open. Watch him. He looks to his right. He's got so much time, he turns, looks backside. He sees Boyd, and he sees Darrell Smith, and as you say, not anybody real close to him.
He's been able to find that open spot on the defense. It's first and 10. The ball is at the 13-yard line. Lobbing it over the head of the defender, intended for Darrell Smith, but he couldn't get away from Troy Wilson to catch up with the throw.
Had a little bit of pressure from Arvid Bacher that time, but if he'd have had just a second longer, he had Jeff Boyd all alone down there. Boyd was looking around. He couldn't understand what happened to the coverage.
Renfro looking to the bench for some help in calling his next play, second and 10. He's hit on 6 of 10 pass attempts for 61 yards, 10:53 remaining in the half. 7-3, the Argos lead. Touchdown, and the man on the receiving end is Darrell Smith.
Well, I was looking at the Ottawa defense to see if they would get the man-to-man coverage that you usually get down close. He didn't get it. He got a zone, and Darrell Smith, as you said earlier, will find a hole in the zone, and he was wide open about 4 yards deep. He's going to sprint to his right, reads the zone coverage, comes backside, and look at Darrell Smith. He'll be right in the middle of 3 black jerseys, but they're far enough away from him for Renfro to get it in.
You don't usually see a slot back wide open like that.
No, not normally. I thought the way they were playing, he would get man-to-man coverage from the linebacker, but it ended up being a zone, and he found the hole.
Lance Chomik with the point after, and the Toronto Argonauts have doubled their total. They lead it 14-3. We'll be back with the Toronto kickoff after this. Well, you see the kicking toe of Hank Olisic tied up. Dave Cutler of the Edmonton Eskimos used to do that.
Get a lot of height when that happens.
Olisic thought he'd get a little more distance than that. Larry Moore on the return out to the 43-yard line, and that's where the Ottawa Rough Riders will scrimmage first and 10. Darrell Smith on the receiving end of that touchdown throw from Gilbert Renfro, and he has been wide open on almost every pattern he's run.
See, Gilbert sees the zone. He turns backside. Now, as you say, Darrell Smith, look how wide open he is. So you had Patrick Wayne, 35, you had Ken Braden, 41, and then the safety man, but he found a hole, and you're not going to allow him to get those goals. He's a big target, 6'2". That's another one of those Central State products that Leo finds.
Greenfield continuing as the Ottawa Rough Rider quarterback. Shows some good running ability as he gets the first down to the 49 of the Argos. Stopped by the safety, Laurent Delorier.
Greenfield plays the same school, Northwestern, that Hamilton Tiger Cat quarterback Mike Kerrigan played at. He probably had a lot of chances to run. They never had a lot of success. You see the rush come to the wide side. 3 people coming on one side, 1 on the other. That's where the hole opens up. Greenfield takes advantage of it, and as you say, pretty good move to get away from those Argonaut linebackers.
Now, who was the most highly publicized quarterback to come to the CFL out of Northwestern?
Dick Thornton.
You got it. Greenfield that time stopped right in his tracks by Harold Hallman.
That looked like that option again with Greenfield coming down the line. You don't want to run that.
Procedure. Ottawa.
The call against the Ottawa Rough Riders.
You can run those options in college, Don, when you got 5, 6 quarterbacks. But when you don't have any up here, you don't want to get hurt. You don't want those quarterbacks getting hurt.
Because the play resulted in a 2-yard loss, the penalty declined by Toronto. It will be 2nd and 12. Sideline pass for a first down to Watson.
Well, they finally got Berry man-to-man coverage, and Watson beat him. Watch the cushion. We're going to see this again. Look at the distance, the cushion between the receiver and Ed Berry, the defensive back. Got him on man-to-man coverage. He turns to the sideline. See, 13 is not in the picture anymore. He's got to get up a little bit closer on Watson.
1st and 10 for Ottawa. They are at the 35-yard line. This quarterbacking change may have been necessitated by an injury. Jeff Wickersham is not at that Ottawa bench. Greenfield for Watson over his head.
Yeah, Greenfield not happy with that. When you run a flag pattern that Watson ran, if he makes his cut to the flag and the defensive backs away from him, throw the ball low and into the hole, and he'd have caught it. But it got away from him. He was a little disappointed in that throw.
Obviously, Greenfield is not totally familiar with the Ottawa offensive scheme. Some might argue some others aren't either.
They're probably still on page 1 of the playbook. You make that many changes, it's very difficult to add new things.
2nd and 10 from the 35. This is picked off. Reggie Pleasant down the sidelines and is caught as he got up to the 47-yard line by Kennever.
You know, we talked about the pattern that they ran on Berry. That's the same exact pattern, only this time Reggie Pleasant was only sitting about 4 yards away, and when he cocked the arm, Pleasant took off and went right in front of it. He's got him one-on-one coverage. He turned to inside, but watch number 2 coming right in front. Makes a nice interception, easy play for the corner.
One of those throws for the quarterback that must seem to be in the air for an eternity.
Well, especially when you see the defensive back getting closer. You can't get it there any faster, but you're saying, hurry, hurry. Sometimes it doesn't make it.
Reggie Pleasant with the interception. Hey, Dad, Mom. Penalty flags on the play as Renfro drops back to throw, and it's incomplete. It was intended for Masati, who is into the ball game at a wide receiver position.
Well, Paul Masati is the Argos' #1 draft choice out of Acadia University last year. He was the 15th pick overall, and I can remember when he was drafted, Leo Cahill saying that they were happy to see him still available when it was their
Offside.
turn.
Trial number 76. Decline.
Boy, this game is taking its toll on that Toronto offensive line. We saw Dan Ferroni go out earlier, and now Randy Ambrosi is down. Bob Abilovich was talking yesterday about all the injuries along that offensive line.
Were you lined up, bro? Did you get off the line? Who's the penalty on? What was the penalty? Hey! What was the penalty?
67?
Left tackle. Penalties on 67. We know that.
Chris Schultz lined up incorrectly, apparently. But referring to Obilovich's comments, he felt that now he was just getting some of those offensive line people back. And in this game, Ferrone has been hurt. Now Ambrosi is necked. And we don't know just how serious this might be.
He's not moving a lot. I don't know whether he's knocked out, or is it his leg, or what? But he hasn't moved very much. Freddie's talking to him. Freddie Dunbar, the trainer.
Well, Jeff Wickersham is back on the bench, and he is wearing the red jacket and now conversing with Art Schleister, the highly publicized quarterback who was expected to be the savior for this Ottawa Rough Rider franchise earlier in the year, but he has had his injury problems.
I still think he can play, Don. I saw him take, before we broke for the Olympics, in the 2 games before that, I saw him take a pounding that a quarterback shouldn't have to take. The Hamilton Tiger Cats, when they were here, they beat him to death one night, and he turned around the very next game against the BC Lions and took a shot on those ribs. And it's no wonder, with the way his injury is, that he hasn't been able to play for about a month. But he comes off the list Monday, and now it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Blaine Schmidt will go into the ball game to replace Randy Ambrosi.
Blaine Schmidt plays both. He's a backup defensive lineman and offensive lineman. I know they was hoping not to have to use him on offense, but Cardish is already in there.
With limited rosters, you have to have some individuals who are versatile.
Yeah, you have to have somebody ready to go. Now, the next injury is going to be the interesting one. If they get another one, I don't know who plays.
2nd and 10. The ball is at the 47-yard line. Toronto in front, 14-3. Jeff Boyd makes the catch and is taken out of bounds immediately at the 41-yard line by Derek White.
Well, that's great timing on the pattern by Gilbert Renfro and Jeff Boyd. Darrell Smith went down up into the seam, and he looked for him, and then all of a sudden he sees one-on-one coverage. This ball's in the air long before Boyd makes his cut, and as he turns around, you can't really stop that one. And when that ball's on the time, on the money, you don't stop it.
From a quarterbacking standpoint, is that one of those throws that is delivered to a spot?
Not to a spot, but you're anticipating his break and deliver it outside, where when he turns, he'll see it.
Screen to Lorenzo Graham. Drayton was right there, reading the play and making the tackle after a gain of a couple of yards.
Yeah, we're going to see Jim Cardish, 63. He's going to be disappointed because he made the block on Braden, and that's his job. But the ball carrier, in this case Graham, went to the wrong side of him. He goes outside, he gets more running room. He just made the wrong decision.
This time it's an Ottawa Rough Rider injury that has resulted in a stoppage in play. 7:32 remaining in this first half, and Leon Hatziano is the player down. The much-traveled Leon Hatziano. He was with Winnipeg for a spell before coming back to the Ottawa Rough Riders, and he has been playing a starting role at that nose tackle position.
Well, the thing right now is I want to see how Ottawa lines up on defense.
As we see what's happening down there, Scott, what have you got to report from the bench on Pernell Moore?
Well, Don, an injury update on Pernell Moore. As time has gone on, he's begun to feel fully the effects of the big hit he took on his right knee, so he's definitely out for the rest of this half. They'll have a closer look at him at halftime. It's a question now as to whether he'll be back in this game at all. Dan Ferroni, the guard, has re-injured the groin. That has kept him out of some games this season. He is not expected back today. Randy Ambrosi had someone roll on his ankle, but they hope that if they tape it up, he'll be able to go back in.
All right, Scott, we see Leon Hatziano walking off and heading for that Ottawa Rough Rider bench. Now, what have they done defensively? What adjustment have they made?
I'm just looking to see who came in down there. Patrick Wayne was the guy that Coach Weber said yesterday would have to have a part. You see who's coming up the middle on the rush, number 24, Sellers.
Brian Hansen taking that swing pass, and he was caught by Hummel.
Brian Hansen was a first-round draft pick this year by Winnipeg out of Slippery Rock College. There's a lot of people who don't realize there is a Slippery Rock. A lot of people, I remember Dick Snell played with us in Saskatchewan, played at Wyoming, and they used to give the Slippery Rock score all the time at halftime. Never realized that there was a school named Slippery Rock.
A lot of people thought it was a put-on for a long while.
That's right. But there is. It's in Pennsylvania.
3rd and 12. Hank Olisic's kick will bounce back towards the line of scrimmage. Will Lewis picks it up. Penalty flags in the play. There were about 3 Argos, I would suggest, were inside that 5-yard area. 6:45 is the time remaining in the half.
For all CFL Knowing when to call it quits is important in professional athletics. Ben Zambiasi didn't think it was time, and obviously neither did the Toronto Argonauts. They've called on him to fill the void left by Tank Landry's departure. Zambiasi will join us live at Inside the CFL. We'll have a feature report on Jeff Boyd. The common denominator that applies to receivers everywhere applies to him. No matter how many he's catching, he'd like to catch more. That's at halftime, Don.
All right, Scott, and we'll be interested in hearing the comments from Ben Zambiasi, the newest Toronto Argonaut. Orville Lee is stopped at the 35-yard line by Don Moan, the linebacker.
Well, they pull that backside guard and tackle and come off. Here they come. Now, Harding's got to step up in there. Looks like he's trying to be held by Yelerenko. He takes that hit on, and then he bounces off. Finally does get in on a play and drives the blocker right down on his back. In that case, Brad Fawcett, 57.
2nd and 8. Watson makes the catch. He'll be close to the first down.
Good throw, right on the money, and it had to be because Ed Berry was standing right on top of him.
Many times when a quarterback goes to the sidelines, one of those long sideline passes is picked off. He's reluctant to come back with the same type of throw, but Greenfield came right back and went to the other side and completed the pass that time to Watson.
Well, you can't let them intimidate you. You got to come right back and throw it. And if they get another one, you still have to throw it, because if you're not going to throw that pattern, then the chances are you can't play.
For many American college quarterbacks coming up to the Canadian Football League, the width of the field is a bit of a jolt.
Yeah, you want to test the guy's arm strength. You put him on one hash mark and have him throw an out pattern at 14 yards to the wide side of the field. If he can throw that one on time, he's got a heck of an arm.
3rd down gamble by the Ottawa Rough Riders. Their short yardage offense is out there. Greenfield will keep, and he should have the first down as he moved it up to the 45-yard line with 5:38 remaining in the half. The regulars return to the Ottawa lineup for the first down play that will originate at the 44. Bob Weber had an interesting comment yesterday at the press conference when they asked about the crowd. He said 3,000 will probably show up just to see if I'm still here.
Yeah, it's a tough situation right now here in Ottawa when you're 1-12, and you know they've been good at getting good crowd support this year all year.
The club was 0-3 when Weber took over. They've managed to win 1 game. They have lost 9 under his direction.
He had absolutely nowhere to throw that football. He had 2 receivers to that side of the field. They were in a zone defense, which meant Reggie Pleasant stayed up tight on the wide guy, and the inside linebacker had the other guy covered. He had nowhere to throw it. He did the wise thing, just turn and run. And then when you do that, the inside linebacker, in this case Zambiasi's there to make the hit.
2nd and 10. Complete to Orville Lee. But there are 3 Argo defenders to prevent him from getting a first down. Ed Berry, Willie Pless, and Ben Zambiasi.
Well, Nick Benjamin not getting along with somebody down there. It looks like Pelka. Nick usually has a little run-in with somebody every game. It looks to me like they're going to go after this one on 3rd down and 2 yards. Number 39 at that left end is Irv Damon, offensive tackle wearing number 39. He put in those extra blockers, power eye.
A big 3rd down gamble, a handoff to Orville Lee. I don't think he got it. He had to get up almost to the midfield stripe. Let's see where they spot his forward progress.
That's all it's going to come down to. Heck, he did a heck of a job. Got flipped in the air and landed on his feet. Just going to come down to where they spotted it on this measurement.
I think he's going to be just a little short.
You're right. It's like about 5 inches, 6 inches. Did a heck of a job landing on his feet.
So the Toronto Argonauts take over on the turnover as Orville Lee was hit by Willie Pless in midair.
They run the 2 backs away and then go to the opposite side. Watch 32 is going to cut those legs. He spins over top of Kalka and lands on there, but this is the thing that saved him. Number 16 coming in to pull him down and not allowing him to get that extra fall forward.
3:30 remaining in the half. Renfro with lots of time. Looking for Paul Nastasiuk, incomplete.
You know, when you're losing as Ottawa is, the last few games, not only today, but they've almost tried to convert every third and short yardage, and sometimes you make it, most times you don't. When you have to rely on gambling every time on third down, it tells you one or two things. Either you want to keep the ball and keep the defense off the field, or you have no confidence in your kicking game. So it could be both.
2nd and 10 from the 54. Jeff Boyd, the target, incomplete. Derek White came back. Boyd had to slow up and wait for that throw.
Renfro made the right read. He came to the backside, and again, that one pattern where he likes to hit Darrell Smith curling in. Well, when Smith curled in, the halfback went with him. He just couldn't throw it far enough.
3:03 is the time remaining in the half here at Lansdowne Park.
Return now, let's go.
Marv Alamang, the veteran center of the Ottawa Rough Riders, and you've got some things in common with this man. You both live in Ancaster, Ontario, and your son goes to the same school that he graduated from, Acadia.
Yeah, he went to Acadia, and Marv called him to tell him about the school, helped him make up his mind.
Penalty flag as Orville Lee takes that third down punt. Again, probably a no yards call against Toronto. Well, give us an update on how son Bobby is doing at Acadia.
Oh, he's doing all right. I always ask him how his grades are and how his classes are. He wants to talk football all the time. Well, they've lost to St. Mary's, who's a top-ranked college team in the country.
No yards. Toronto number 37. First down.
You know, you punt the ball against the wind, as Alisic does. He hits it so good. You know, he goes up in that nice spiral. When he gets against the wind, it just hangs there. And that's the reason for the no yards.
Watson wide to the left, Ward to the right. Orville Lee takes the handoff. Running inside against this Toronto Argonaut team is a tough chore.
Well, they've only given up 3 rushing touchdowns this year, Don, as we said earlier. 87 yards a game against them rushing. So if you gain yards against them, you've earned them.
Willie Pless and Ben Zambiazzi combined to stop Orville Lee. 2:34 remaining in the half. 14-3 is the score. The Argonauts in front. The Argonauts 9-4 to lead the East. Glenn Kalka is one of the reasons why they have played so well defensively.
Well, that Toronto Argonauts secondary must be breaking some tendencies, because when Greenfield raised up to throw the football, nobody open. Watch, he's ready to throw, but there's nowhere he can throw it, and on a 3-step drop, you have to get rid of it. If you don't, you're going to get just what Kalka did to you.
And he just shed the attempted block of 6'8", 275-pound Brad Fawcett.
Yeah, Fawcett got the play in there when Damon got hurt a few games back. And Damon's healthy again. I'm surprised he's not back in there.
Let's check the hang time of this Tom Dixon kick. He just got it away. Darrell Smith forced out of bounds. Joe Mertman was the man downfield to force him out. A 43-yard kick, really no opportunity for a return by Darrell Smith.
It's a tough game to play. You know, Ottawa really doesn't have a whole lot to gain out of anything. They're not going to go to any postseason play. The Argonauts want to clinch first place. But, you know, when you play a team like Ottawa or a team that's losing, put them away in a hurry. The longer you let them in the game, the harder they are to beat.
Lorenzo Graham got to the line of scrimmage and stopped there by Darrell Patterson, the linebacker.
That was a good hit by Darrell Patterson. They pulled Chris Schultz from the backside to lead him through, but that man, number 76, Darrell Patterson, who's had a good year for Ottawa, was right there to make the hit.
He was traded to the Ottawa Rough Riders from Winnipeg just prior to the start of the season. The deal took place on May the 10th. A 6'3", 230-pounder out of Texas Christian. Dan Sellers into the ball game, replacing Jarvis on the second down play, but Renfro still gets the pass away to Dwight Edwards for a first down.
Well, that's a good pattern. He got the clear out pattern by Nastasiak underneath, and Dwight Edwards just broke to the inside, and Renfro stuck it right on the numbers. Look to the right of your screen. I don't know if you'll see Nastasiak clearing, but look at the open ground he creates. Right in the middle, right on the number. It's a good thing he grabbed his jersey because he's still got awful good speed.
First and 10, Toronto. The ball is at the Argo 52-yard line. Hummel was blitzing, but the screen pass is delivered to Lorenzo Graham for a gain of 9. Leon Hatziano came over to make the tackle. Gilbert Renfro just got that pass away as Hummel was blitzing from his linebacking position.
Well, Hummel, number 20, getting that starting assignment at that outside linebacker position. He's a rookie out of SMU. He's got 3 quarterback sacks. He put an awful good hit on Gilbert Renfro.
Second and 1. Lorenzo Graham bounces off a tackle and converts it into a first down. Make that Hudson the ball carrier.
Plays designed to go inside. Hudson just bounced outside, and at 225 pounds, he gets up ahead of steam. He doesn't get to carry the ball often because he's usually the blocker, but when he gets up ahead of steam, he's tough to bring down.
1:02 remaining in the half. 14-3, the Toronto Argonauts lead. Hudson has a gain of, make that 5 yards before being stopped by Troy Wilson.
That's being patient. Take what they give you. They drop off. Troy Wilson, number 26, dropped off a little bit, and that allowed him to be open underneath, so Renfro took it, got about 4 yards.
47 seconds remaining in the half. The clock now running.
Hudson dives out, makes the catch. He was 6 yards upfield, but he had to dive back to 4 to get the ball.
Again, Darrell Smith is open over the middle for a first down to the 23.
Renfro's got this defense figured out now. He sends those backs out in the flat. If they run with him, it opens up inside for Smith and Nastasiak. Nastasiak was open at the top.
First and 10 from the 23. 25 seconds remaining in the half. Smith the target again. Braden was there defending against him. 19 seconds the time remaining. Second and 10. The ball at the 23.
I know Coach Obilovich has got to be hoping that he puts them in the end zone. Get that 21-3 lead at the half. They can breathe a little bit easier. Get some room between the Rough Riders and themselves.
Brian Hansen comes into the ball game. Warren Hudson goes to the bench. Penalty flag, and the quarterback is caught immediately by Hummel, who got a hand on him as Renfro was dropping back to throw, but there's a penalty flag right at the line of scrimmage. An offside call against the Argos.
Well, they'll take the 3 points with 15 seconds left. Get some points on the board. Good rush from the outside by Hummel. Hansen stepped up to block him. He went right by him.
Lance Chomick, who has been good on 2 of 3 field goal attempts this afternoon. Lining up to try another, but there's nobody there to hold the ball. Well, apparently somebody must have called the timeout because they are certainly taking a lot of time in getting this play underway, but now they reassemble.
There was a timeout.
John Conjemi comes over to spot the ball at the 35-yard line. It's good. So Lance Chomick adds to the Toronto Argonaut lead with 12 seconds remaining in the first half. Some Argonaut supporters in the crowd here at Lansdowne Park enjoying what they've witnessed through this first half. The Argos with a 9-4 mark coming into the ball game. Last night, the record of the Hamilton Tiger Cats fell to 7-7. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers at 7-6 will take on the Edmonton Eskimos on Monday afternoon, and we'll have that game for you on CBC television. First place could very well in the Eastern Division come down to a battle between Winnipeg and Toronto the final 2 weekends of the season.
Well, if Winnipeg can keep winning, you know, those last 2 games, next to the last game of the season, they get them back-to-back in Winnipeg and in Toronto, could be very exciting.
And at halftime, inside the CFL, will feature Jeff Boyd, the ex-Winnipeg Blue Bomber receiver, traded to the Toronto Argonauts, and the former Hamilton Ticat linebacker Ben Zambiazzi, who will chat live with Scott Oak. This will be the final play of the first half, and the Toronto Argonauts will be going to the dressing room with a 17-3 halftime lead. Stay tuned for Inside the CFL.
Decades of memories crystallized on CBC. Remember 1987?
Second and 10. Dunnigan loses the football. Doug Landry. He'll score.
Still capturing the moments. The CFL on CBC. CBC Sports presents Inside the CFL.
Toronto 17, Ottawa 3 at the half, and we welcome you to Inside the CFL. Pay cut was the catchword in the last CFL offseason, and it brought to a rather inglorious end Ben Zambiazzi's distinguished 10-year career with the Hamilton Ticats. At the end of the season, the Ticats asked him to take a 45% pay cut. Initially, he said no, then thought better of it. The Ticats said it was too late, and so until a couple of weeks ago when he caught on with the Argonauts, Ben Zambiazzi was looking for work. Ben, it was a dozen games into the 18-game schedule before you got your second chance. Were you starting to think that your career was in fact over?
Well, basically, I thought that I'd given up about the 9th game. I figured if I was going to get picked up, it was going to be about the halfway point, but injuries didn't indicate that anyone was in need of a linebacker. Team schedules indicated that there was a need, but I think GMs probably felt like I came with a high price tag, and that wasn't the case.
Well, what was it about you that would not let you accept when the Ticats cut you and no one else was calling that your career wasn't over? Because you didn't accept it.
No, I didn't. It was intuition that it just wasn't the way for me to go out, and I wasn't ready to give it up, and I trained hard in the off season. I trained 9 weeks into the regular season. All through training camp, I was ready. It was intuition that there was something in the cards in the future, and I wasn't going to go out the way that it seemed like I was going out.
Financially, did waiting 75% of the season do you any good, or are you basically playing for the same money that you would have received in Hamilton with the pay cut?
No, I'm playing for less than what I would have received with the pay cut, and money had no bearing on my coming back at all.
So quickly, Ben, for all the teams that you could have caught on with, to catch on with the one that's in first place in the Eastern Conference is a bit of all right, isn't it?
Well, it's worked out well. I'm happy. These are a bunch of good guys, and they've made me feel right at home, and you know, it's just time for me to get on and fit into a piece of the puzzle here.
Okay, Ben, welcome back.
Thank you.
Ben Zambiazzi starting over again with the Toronto Argonauts, and so is Jeff Boyd. We'll have a feature report on him when Inside the CFL returns in just a moment. Toronto leading by a couple of touchdowns at the half as Inside the CFL continues. Jeff Boyd is a game breaker, one of the CFL's best receivers. Based on his reputation, expectations are high for Jeff Boyd, but he's not lived up to his own expectations this CFL season. As Jeff Boyd reflects on his season, he is not happy. He recalls asking for a no-trade clause in Winnipeg and being turned down. After 5 successful years with the Bombers,
He remembers being hurt emotionally. And after riding the Bomber bench in the preseason, he was dealt to the Argonauts. It was not what Jeff Boyd wanted.
In my opinion, what it basically came down to was a trade. I felt like if I had signed a contract in Winnipeg, I would have had to honor it somewhere else. I would have gotten traded out of there. And I didn't want that to happen. If I was going to sign to be in Winnipeg, if I was going to make concessions to be in Winnipeg, I wanted to be in Winnipeg and play it out.
But he does have many good memories of Winnipeg, memories of breaking in 1983 and clicking with quarterback Tom Clements.
He was a dream for a receiver because when you ran a route, you know, if you got open, you knew the ball was coming. And we all loved, you know, going up and making great catches and doing great things for Tom because we knew he was working just as hard to try and get us the ball.
A year later, the duo led the Bombers to their first Grey Cup win in over 20 years.
Cold. Boy, it was so cold. And I couldn't get any footing. The first half, Hamilton just banged me all around, and boy, it was a bad first half for me. But the second half, I think my body settled in and my cleats settled in, and we got to going. But we just all pulled together. We all felt pretty good, and at the beginning of the '84 season, we all said, this is a team that needs to be remembered. Let's just not think of where we are. Let's just go and play as hard as we can. At the end of the year, let's look up and see what we've accomplished.
On the heels of the Grey Cup, Boyd had a career season, 76 catches for over 1,300 yards in 1985, including this game against Saskatchewan, which he claims as his best ever. As the T-shirt says, he was one of Winnipeg's untouchables. Fortunately for Toronto, he wasn't.
You know, we've always kind of coveted he as a wide receiver and hated to play against him, and when he became available, we thought it was the greatest thing in the world to get him, and he's been a tremendous influence on our receivers because he's very disciplined, and he's a guy that can get open, and he helps the other guys, and I think right now our receiving corps is the best that it's been since I've been here. I
don't feel like, to this point, I performed as well as I can perform, and I don't feel like I've been as consistent as I've been in the past. And I think that that's what they brought me here for.
Boyd is 9th in the CFL in receiving this year, and he's gone over 100 yards in each of his last 2 games. Good numbers for most, but not Jeff Boyd. Perhaps he's been spoiled by his success in Winnipeg, and that may mean the 30-year-old will soon end his career.
Not much longer. I'm getting tired, and I don't know. If I start playing better, if I feel like I'm playing up to the caliber that I've played at over the years, then I may stay in a little bit longer. But right now, I'm really not happy with myself and my performance, and it's got to get much better before I can have fun playing football again, and I don't want to do it if it's not fun anymore.
He's a thoroughbred, and Jeff Boyd puts tremendous pressure on himself to succeed. He and the Argos are hoping he finds that success.
As has been the case for the last 6 years in the fall, Jeff Boyd is here in Canada. His wife and 2 children are in Los Angeles. Separation from family more than anything may dictate the end of his career. Let's go to Don and Ron for some first-half analysis.
Well, Scott, Jeff Boyd has been a fine target throughout this season for quarterback Gilbert Renfro, but Ron, in this game, it's Darrell Smith who is the #1 man.
Well, when you think of Boyd and Smith together, that's awesome on one side of the field. Boyd streaks down the field. He clears it out. Darrell Smith finds the hole in the zone. Renfrew finds him. Easy touchdown. Nice throw. Good catch.
And with that touchdown by Darrell Smith and the 3 field goals by Lance Chomick, the Toronto Argonauts have their edge, 17-3 at halftime. Back to Scott.
Well, Don, we're into the busy part of our schedule now. In 48 hours' time, we'll be in Winnipeg for a Thanksgiving Day edition of the CFL on CBC. The Bombers, on a 2-game win streak, will play host to the Edmonton Eskimos. Start time of that game is 2 o'clock local, 3 o'clock Eastern on the full CBC network. 30 minutes of football between Toronto and Ottawa are just ahead. Stay with us. The second half kickoff is next when we come back.
Well, statistically, in the first half, the Toronto Argonauts really didn't generate a great deal of offense, but then they also prevented the Ottawa Rough Riders from mounting much of an offensive scheme. And as a result, with the touchdown by Darrell Smith and the field goals by Lance Chomik, the Toronto Argonauts have built up a 17-3 first half lead. The Ottawa Rough Riders, as has been the case throughout much of the season, just aren't doing a great deal offensively.
No, they've really had trouble moving the football today, and they removed Jeff Wickersham after 1 quarter of play because of no productivity. I'm anxious to see if they will put him back into the ball game, because they've got to get somebody, you know, hang your hat with someone, say, let's go. It's your ball game to win or lose, and let them go.
Head coach Bob Weber was rather loose at yesterday's press conference. We reported his comment about the number of fans that might show up just to see if he was still here. Someone asked him about Tom Dixon and whether or not he would remain with Tom Dixon for the balance of the season. He said, it looks like he's it. We've been scouring the garbage can looking for all the names that may have been thrown into the wastepaper basket. He said, we can't find anybody.
But you know what the interesting thing he said yesterday about that is this rule where a person that's on the roster doesn't have to play. He can be paid for the rest of the season. He said it's the Players Association welfare system, because they tried to get J.T. Hay, they tried to get Bernie Ruoff, they've tried to get a couple others, but they're being paid by the other teams, and if they don't play and the other team goes to the playoffs, they get paid for that. Somewhere along the line, I don't know if I can agree with that.
Well, his team has won only 1 game. That victory over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers that must seem like an eternity ago as far as the Ottawa Rough Riders are concerned. But their record 1-12. The Toronto Argonauts atop the standings in the East at 9-4. And the final 3 weeks of the regular season are going to be very interesting in the Eastern Division. On October 23rd, Winnipeg is at Toronto. On October 30th, Toronto visits Winnipeg. Then on the 5th of November, the Argonauts face the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So the 3 teams that are going to be in the playoff scene in the Eastern Division are going to be battling for that #1 position over the final 3 weeks of regular season play.
They're going to get a lot of looks at one another, and that's going to make it very interesting down the stretch and into the playoffs. So that's about all you can ask at this stage of the season with Ottawa being eliminated.
The Ottawa Rough Riders preparing to kick off to the Toronto Argonauts. The Argos have Dwight Edwards and Kevin Cummings as the 2 kickoff return people, stationed back at about the 15-yard line. Cummings is the designated import for this game. He wears number 20. Dwight Edwards, the backup wide receiver and kickoff return man, who was pressed into duty to take over from the injured Pernell Moore.
You know, Kevin Cummings is a running back, and he's mainly dressed as a designated import, as you say, but the main reason is Lorenzo Graham's coming back from a knee injury. They didn't want to take a chance of being caught with no running back, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him get some play maybe this second half, because, you know, with the injury to Finnerty, they may need one.
A low bounding kick that is picked up by Cummings at the 25-yard line. Penalty flag goes down as Cummings is stopped at the 43-yard line. Troy Wilson is the man who made the tackle. Wait for referee Jake Ireland to sort it out.
Holding. Toronto number 26. First down.
Holding call against Selwyn Drain. And that will take the ball back to the 30-yard line. That's where the Argos will scrimmage 1st and 10 to start this second half. They lead it 17-3. Randy Ambrosi, who was injured and went out, has returned. Jim Kardash remains in there in place of Dan Peroni. Renfro completes the pass to Darrell Smith. He has a first down out to the 42.
Pretty good move. He threw that ball awful quick to him. Smith had 2 black jerseys converging, and he just spun to the inside and got up inside. See Troy Wilson dropping deep. He comes over to this side. Look at the 2 black jerseys. Looks like they got him. He gets inside Patterson and goes straight upfield. Picks up a 1st and 10.
Penalty flag. Lorenzo Graham takes the pass, bounces off the first hit, and will be very close to a first down. But there were penalty flags in that Argo backfield. It's going to be a procedure call against Toronto. A holding call as well.
Bilovich has to be wondering is how could we get called for holding when he threw that ball so quick? He didn't have it in his hands very long.
What's the penalty, please? Did you give us the fucking nut?
Procedure. Toronto declined. Holding. Toronto number 51. First down and 2.
A holding call against Randy Ambrosi. That takes the ball back to the 32-yard line. Three receivers come wide left in the Toronto Argonaut attack. That's the direction Renfro was going to Smith. He's got it down at the 40-yard line.
Went straight up the field. He split the zone completely, stayed right around the hash mark area. Renfro finds him all by himself. You can't give Darrell Smith that much room and not expect to be burned. You'll see him right here, number 1, right up the hash marks. And when Renfro turns, he finds him wide open between the corner and the safety. No way to stop it in that defense.
38-yard gain, and Smith has now caught 6 for 104 yards. First and 10, the ball is at the 40-yard line.
Got him.
Jeff Boyd, he can't quite catch up with him.
Well, you can see the audible. He called an audible, both of his slot backs. Well, the one on this side in particular, Darrell Smith came back to help out block, and it's just one-on-one with Boyd downfield, and it's about a half a step too far. He's looking over his shoulder, just can't get those fingers stretched out far enough, just slid off.
It will be second and 10 from the 40-yard line. We talked about Darrell Smith coming into this game as the Argos' leading receiver with 49 receptions. Gilbert Renfro has some impressive statistics, and his touchdown throw in this game has gone to Darrell Smith. Smith is now only 30 yards away from 1,000 for the season, and this one will go to Nastasiuk for the touchdown.
Nastasiuk started like he was going to clear it out and go to the flag, and Darrell Smith came underneath, and then all of a sudden he turned back inside.
Sorry, roughness. Ottawa number 67.
A penalty called against the Ottawa Rough Riders, Ralph Jarvis, for unnecessary roughness, so the touchdown will stand. Paul Nastasiuk taking the throw 39 yards into the end zone.
He goes like he's going to go to the flag, and then he turns back to the inside. Darrell Smith was coming underneath, but when Nastasiuk turned back inside, Kyle Hall was caught out of position, and it made it a very easy throw for Renfro and a good catch for Nastasiuk.
I'm sure that Toronto General Manager Leo Cahill is breathing a little easier right now because he was concerned prior to the start of this ball game.
Well, I think Coach Bilovich said the same thing yesterday. You know, when you come in 9-4 and you know you're playing a team, things aren't going well, you really worry about getting up for the game, and it seems like they're all right.
Lance Chomick adds the point after, and the Argos lead it by 21. We'll have their kickoff after this. Back at Lansdowne Park as Hank Olisic prepares to kick off following that touchdown throw from Gilbert Renfro to Paul Nastasiuk. A short kickoff again that Larry Moore takes and returns to the 39-yard line. We talked about Wilfrid Laurier products in the CFL earlier, and Paul Nastasiuk is another graduate of that program.
Renfro turns. He probably can't believe to see Nastasiuk this wide open. Look at him make the catch. Kyle Hall's the safety man behind him. There was nothing inside of him. Nastasiuk, that's his first touchdown as a Toronto Argonaut. And look at it at the top of the screen, 51 Ambrosi right here is grabbed by the face mask and thrown to the ground by Jarvis. That's the unnecessary roughness, and that's why the kickoff came from the 50.
And if you're wondering who the others in the Toronto Argonaut history are to throw for more than 20 touchdown passes in a single season, well, Tobin Rope delivered 38 in 1960, Arnold Galiffa 32 in 1956, and Condredge Holloway, the most recent, 31 in 1982.
I remember the year with Tobin Rope. That was my first year in the league. Well, they had a heck of a passing attack with Shadow and Dave Mann. Boy, they threw the ball over it a lot.
And I think our spotter, Art Darch, played with Arnold Galiffa in 1956. Greenfield is going to run this one, but he'll be stopped short of a first down. He manages to get just a couple of yards with 11:28 remaining in this third quarter. You know, you don't really like to bury a team when it's down, but the Ottawa Rough Riders just haven't been able to do anything offensively.
Really, they showed a pattern there on first down underneath the Elfin. That's the first different pattern that they have thrown outside of that one where they cross the two receivers and hope to catch them in man coverage. Other than that, they've really done nothing offensively.
Paul Masadi is back along with Darrell Smith on this short kick by Dixon. It bounces in front of Masadi, picks it up at the 40, and there are 3 Rough Riders within that 5-yard area. So not only did Dixon hit one only 27 yards, the Toronto field position will be improved by that no yards call.
Well, we talked about Paul Masadi. He played at Salt Fleet High School down in Stony Creek, just around Hamilton, went to Acadia, signed with the Washington Redskins.
No yards.
Happy to be playing. He wanted to play Hamilton or Toronto. He got his wish. He's with the Argonauts.
A lot of people are wondering if Dean Dorsey would be returning to the Ottawa Rough Riders to replace Tom Dixon, who has really struggled during the course of this season as both a place kicker and a punter.
Yeah, he sure has. We were here for that BC game when he had a chance to make a couple field goals, and he didn't do it, and that may have been the difference in the ball game. And as you said, once you start struggling, it seems to continue the rest of the year.
Lorenzo Graham getting to the outside, picking up a couple of blocks, and another first down as he's inside the 45-yard line.
Well, we talk about the blocking ability of Warren Hudson. Made a great block on Brian Hummel, or Ben Hummel, and that helped us bring him. Good job. Right up the middle. There goes Graham to the outside. Hummel was trying to come down inside, and Hudson just flattened him.
10:27 remaining in the third quarter. It's 1st and 10. The ball is at the 44.
Cover two, cover two.
On the sidelines, Dwight Edwards was wide open, but Gilbert Renfro overthrew him.
He's had a little too much gunpowder on about 2 or 3 of his throws today. He's had him behind him open. He just hasn't been able to drop it in there.
Dwight Edwards goes wide right. Jeff Boyd comes out to the left on 2nd and 10 from the 44. Jeff Boyd can't hang on to the ball. It was knocked out of his hands by Derek White.
Pretty good coverage by Derek White. A couple flags down on the play. We'll have to see what these are all about.
It's a holding call against the Argos. And with the 2nd down pass failing to be completed, I think it will be declined.
Holding. Toronto number 63. Declined. 3rd down.
So Bob Obilovich sends out the punting unit on 3rd down. Jim Kardish, who replaced Dan Ferroni, is guilty of the holding call. The Argos and the Ottawa Rough Riders meet again next weekend at CNE Stadium in Toronto. And then 3 tough games for the Argos, home and home with Winnipeg, and a game at home against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Will Lewis takes the ball at the 3-yard line. He was anticipating that that ball would perhaps bounce into the end zone, and the Ottawa Rough Riders will be scrimmaging 1st and 10 from their own 10 when we return. 1st and 10, Ottawa at the 10-yard line with 9:32 remaining in the third quarter. 24-3, the Argos lead. Greenfield was attempting to screen to Jim Reed. He had 3 people in on top of him, and it was Baldwin who knocked the pass away.
Well, Baldwin comes from the New York Jets, where he played 8 games with him, and he was used primarily in the passing situations to rush the quarterback. So for this league, that's an ideal situation, a guy that can rush the quarterback.
Second and 10, and it's intercepted by Reggie Pleasant for the touchdown. Similar play to the one he intercepted earlier in the ball game.
When you throw late on an out pattern, Remy Watson broke the out. Pleasant didn't give him any respect at all. Just hung on him. You throw it late on an out, and they're going to get it. He made it a very easy 23-yard touchdown. Sprints away from the strength. Throws you out, but look where Reggie Pleasant is at in relationship to Watson. Inside, just waiting on that throw. Just jogs in, 23-yard touchdown.
30-3, the Toronto Argonauts lead. Pleasant was mocked by his teammates in the end zone. And now Lance Chomick will attempt the extra point. The Argos are turning this one into a rout. Still 8:56 remaining in the third quarter. The second touchdown of the afternoon for Reggie Pleasant as he returns it for the major score.
He had 4 interceptions coming in. He's now got 6, his first touchdown of the year. You know that for sure. Only 175 pounds out of Clemson. Turned into be an awful good corner for the Toronto Argonauts.
Well, Jeff Wickersham, who started the ball game and then was replaced in the second quarter by Mike Greenfield, appears to be getting ready to return to the ball game. This is the third meeting of the season between these two teams. Toronto won the first 2 by scores of 34-11 on July 20th at Toronto and 42-7 on August the 2nd here in Ottawa. They're threatening to win by an even wider margin on this day, October 8th. Orville Lee on the kickoff return. And Selwyn Drain is the first man to make contact with him. Has to be discouraging for Orville Lee, the fine rookie out of SFU. He has played so well this year, but he hasn't been getting a great deal of help.
No, he hasn't. And, you know, when a guy comes into the league with the expectations that Orville came in with, and he had to be pleased with the way things were going, but, you know, a running back will tell you he's not very good without a good offensive line in front of him. And you're not going to gain yardage when things are 31-3. You know they're shutting you down, and he's got to be a little discouraged.
Wickersham back in at quarterback, as we suggested he might when we saw him warming up. Robert Reed gets the ball, and Reed will have a gain of about 5, maybe 6 yards before being stopped by Don Moen and Harold Hallman. Something Bob Weber said yesterday raises a question. He made a comment about the quarterbacks having difficulty in getting the ball to the receivers. That seems to indicate that they may have some offensive line problems.
Well, he said he wanted to get the ball to wide receivers, and he said we've been having trouble doing that. Well, either they don't have a strong enough arm or they're not getting enough time, but I mean, you got to get the ball to your receivers.
This is the running back, Jim Reed, who takes the throw for a first down to the 41-yard line. Harold Hallman is there to make the tackle, and you can hear the reaction of the crowd to the first down that the Ottawa Rough Riders have picked up. Their initial first down since early in the second quarter.
I was going to say, it's been a while. I don't even really remember it. But on that particular play, in order to get the first down, they had to turn Baldwin loose and allow Jim Reed to slip out in the flat and throw him the football.
First and 10 from the 40-yard line, and Jim Reed is hit by Harold Hallman and Baldwin.
I guess there's a reason to run the ball. I don't know what it is, but I mean, it's 31-3. You know, just put it up in the air. I mean, what can happen? I guess Pleasant could return another one, but why worry about it? Good time to work on your pass offense.
Yeah, they're at the stage of the game and the season where it really doesn't matter anymore. You can try almost anything.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good time to actually work on something. I mean, Here comes Willie Pless on a blitz, but he got rid of it.
Wickersham delivered that ball just in time. It was knocked down, but Willie Pless was coming from the backside on the blitz. And I think quarterbacks have a sixth sense. They can anticipate that backside blitz.
Yeah, you have to on your backside. You'll see 32 coming into the picture right there. If he holds it any longer, but big Rodney Harding reaches up and bats it down. The quarterbacks do have a feeling. They know when something's coming from the backside.
Good kick this time by Tom Dixon. Darrell Smith takes it at the 30-yard line. And Smith is tripped up at the 40. 6:41 remains in the third quarter. That's where the Argos will scrimmage when we return. Well, almost every time the Eskimos and the Blue Bombers have faced each other, it's been a highly entertaining football game, and we look for some excitement on Thanksgiving Day at Winnipeg Stadium as the Blue Bombers face the Edmonton Eskimos in their Thanksgiving Day encounter. We hope you'll be with us on Monday afternoon. Lorenzo Graham has another first down for Toronto. Kyle Hall came up to make the tackle.
Good trap block by number 51. Randy Ambrosi pulled across and trapped him out, and Graham hit right in behind him. Straight upfield for 10 yards.
In this third quarter, it appears as though the Argos offensively are doing pretty much as they please.
I think right now is a good opportunity for the Argonauts to go to work on that running game with a new running back in there. You don't like to hit your backs in practice and you don't get the real live picture, and this is a good opportunity for him to do it.
Graham trying to cut back inside. He'll be limited to an advance of just a couple of yards as Hatziano came over to make the tackle.
Well, he bounced off a couple. He took a good hit from Arbel Bacher as he spun, and then Hatziano was there to bring him down. But as I said, this is a good opportunity because it gives you the opportunity to get that running back in a live situation where your linemen are firing off the ball and get the chance to see what they can do. And as we said, Kevin Cummings is going to get his chance now.
Incomplete over the head of Paul Nastasiuk, who was being covered by Will Lewis.
Got a little bit of good pressure coming at him by Ken Braden, number 41. He came with the all-out blitz, and he got there and forced him to throw the football, Renfro that is, before he was quite ready. But you'll see him coming from the top. I think number 41 will be there. Put the head on him just as he threw it. Wasn't quite ready. Wasn't developed far enough yet to complete it.
Hank Delisic stands at his own 40-yard line for this third down kick. Another good boot that is taken by Will Lewis at the 8-yard line. Good coverage by the Toronto Argonauts as he is stopped immediately by Selwyn Drain, the initial contact. Now let's go down to Scott O.
Well, Don, the CFL has opened up competition for Miss Grey Cup to anybody over the age of 18. So 72-year-old Pearl Fleming, a fierce rider fan and a grandmother of 6, has declared herself a candidate. Some would say why. I suppose, Pearl, the better question is why not?
Why not? That's right. That's right. Why not?
Well, first you have to win the title of Miss Ottawa Rough Rider. Are you confident of your chances there?
Oh, well, I'm as confident as anybody else.
What's your platform, Pearl? What are you running on here?
I'm running, I'm supporting my riders. I'm supporting the city of Ottawa. And I'm supporting the CFL. I don't hope that we'll always stay under the CFL and not the NFL, but the CFL.
All right, we wish you good luck. Don?
Okay, Scott, and of course, here in Ottawa, the Miss Grey Cup contestants will be gathering during Grey Cup week. And of course, you'll see all of the excitement of the 1988 Grey Cup game on CBC television, your Grey Cup network from coast to coast.
Well, you saw it coming from the backside. Glenn Kulka, Harold Holman, and Don Moan all got there to hit Wickersham, caused that ball to go high and out of bounds. I think Harold Holman's a big acquisition for the Argonauts. I think he's a heck of a football player, and, you know, he can play that nose where Gerald Bayless has been out.
They keep trying to get that pressure from the backside. They were blitzing from the backside again, and this time Wickersham got the pass away. But Orville Lee was caught immediately by Willie Pless.
Well, they come so hard from the backside. The Toronto defenders know that he's not going to have time to hold it very long, so they're crowding the receivers. And as you say, right here, Pless is sitting right there waiting on him. But the pressure is coming backside. Duran Major was coming on a blitz, and you see he makes the catch, and right there, Willie Pless makes the tackle.
4 minutes remaining in the third quarter, and the Argos are going to get the ball back again in good field position. Only one man back. That's Darryl Smith. He stands at the 45-yard line. Pressure up the middle, and he got it away just in time. One of his best kicks of the ball game, and it's taken by Darryl Smith and returned to the 40-yard line. Tony Visco was the man who came up the middle and almost got to that third down kick by Tom Dixon.
Tony Visco is a linebacker, another draft choice to the Toronto Argonauts out of Purdue University. Wrote a column in one of the papers during training camp. It was interesting to read a rookie's impressions of his first training camp. He's a big one, 6'4", 235.
First and 10, just inside the 40-yard line. Warren Hudson fights his way to the 35-yard line, a gain of 4. You know, coming into the ball game, Gil Fenerty was the leading rusher. He had 968 yards. Only twice in the Argos' history have they had a 1,000-yard rusher, Doyle Orange and Bill Simons. And it was certain that Gil Fenerty was going to go over 1,000 yards this season. Of course, the injury prevented him from doing that. He could have been the leading rusher all time for a single season in Argo history had he stayed healthy. Talking about health, Arbu Bakar has had an injury-plagued season, and he's down again.
And the bad part of it, he's coming back from a knee injury, and there's a look at the brace that he does wear. Just have to hope that he didn't re-injure it, because he sit out most of the season. Just looking at it, the size of the pants, the way they stick out there around the knee, I'd say that that's the one with the brace on it. You know, you talk about the injury to Gil Fenerty, like if you read the paper and listen to the television and so on, they talk about it maybe being ready by the end of the month, maybe being ready for this. Well, there's also a chance he won't be ready at all this year, and this is why Lorenzo Graham and Kevin Cummings are getting their chance to see if they can fit into this offense.
Not only have the Ottawa Rough Riders had problems winning football games, they have also lost a lot of people this year to injury.
Well, they sure have. What is it? They said 14 people are here extra. 12 of them are injured. So they don't really have anyone other than their 2 players on the reserve list, and they don't happen to play the positions where they need help.
Second and 6, 2:50 remaining in the third quarter. Renfro to Smith, and Smith gets to the 20-yard line.
Smith's had a lot of success today, whether he goes down and turns to the inside or turns to the outside. This time he runs the out pattern, makes the catch. He runs the out pattern, breaks to the outside. Here he comes, number 1. He'll make the catch, spin right back inside on Troy Wilson, who can't bring him down. So again, they're down to the 20-yard line with a first down.
Smith came into the game needing 134 yards to reach the 1,000-yard plateau. He's 11 yards away from that. This is Lorenzo Graham running it down to the 11-yard line, close to another first down before being stopped by Derek White.
Good job of blocking by 67, Chris Schultz, the tackle. And as we've mentioned before, Warren Hudson, number 37. Watch the big hole that he has to run through at the line of scrimmage. You'll see number 67 walls it in, 37 kicks out the linebacker, and Graham's down inside the 15, down around the 12.
Another injury resulting in a delay. Troy Wilson, the defensive back, is the player down.
Troy Wilson's played very well for Ottawa this year. He's been, I would say, their bright light on defense. 8 interceptions. He's played the other inside halfback position, and then when Tommy Williams got hurt, he played the corner, and then they brought in Derek White to play there, so he moved to the other halfback where Tyrone Pope had played all season. So he's very versatile, second-year man out of Notre Dame.
You know, you bring people in, and what a lot of people don't realize is that many of the new faces who do come in might have good credentials, but they don't have the benefit of a training camp to fit in with the scheme that is being developed by the coaching staff, and that can many times be a problem.
Well, it sure is, especially if you got a lot of different calls back there. Terminology is so important in football. What you call one thing, another team calls something else, and until you get all that down and know who you're playing beside of, it's very difficult to fit in.
Jerome Erdman in there in place of Troy Wilson. Lorenzo Graham finds the hole for the first down to the 5-yard line. So it will be first and goal for the Argos from the 5-yard line with 1:32 remaining. And yet another Ottawa Rough Rider injury. It appears as though it could be Ken Braden or Leon Hatziano. Hatziano was hurt earlier in the ball game, and he's down again. The man you see on your screen, Jim Kardash, number 63, an injury replacement for Dan Ferrone of the Toronto Argonauts. Right now, let's bring in Scott Oak.
Well, Don, it's obvious with Pernell Moore standing here in street clothes that he'll not be back in this game. Pernell, you took that terrible shot in the right knee late in the first quarter. They initially thought it was just a deep bruise, but it's really stiffening up on you, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of stiffened up on me. I got hit from the blind side and got hit high and low. And just lucky that it wasn't, you know, anything serious.
Is that what you've been told, that it's not serious?
Yeah, it's like a deep bruise. That's all.
So you believe you'll be back for the next game?
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, good luck. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks a lot.
Don?
Well, the Toronto Argonauts are certainly hoping that Pernell Moore will be back for the next game and will be able to finish the regular season, because they have 3 very important ball games coming up. As we have mentioned a couple of times, a home-and-home series against Winnipeg, and then they wind up the year against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and that could determine where they finish, first or second in the Eastern Division standings, although they will be favored to finish atop the standings because they're going to leave this game with a 10-4 mark in the Eastern Division.
No doubt about it, Don. And, you know, listen to Pernell Moore talk there. You know, the thing about injuries in football is that you get yourself into a position where you have no say in the outcome. Like Pernell Moore is running the football, and Patrick Wayne hits him from one side, and just at the same moment, Braden hits him from the other. So as he said, he got high and low. Any running back running the ball, you never know what's going to happen. We see some hits where a guy will get hit and everybody gives it that ooh in the stands. He bounces right back up. Next guy goes in there and it's just a big mass of bodies and they fall over and the guy's out for the year. And that's what I mean. You don't have any say on the outcome of those situations.
Well, Leon Hatziano has been taking something of a beating playing that nose tackle position for the Ottawa Rough Riders. He's 6'2", 265 pounds, out of Simon Fraser. In the first half, it appeared as though he injured a knee. Here, it appears as though he took a blow to the head. Well, Hockey Night in Canada returns to CBC television this evening. 3 games on the schedule: Detroit at Vancouver, Chicago at Toronto, and Minnesota at Montreal. Check the listings in your area for the game that you'll be able to watch. I think that sign just about says it all, as Lansdowne Park is located on Bank Street in the nation's capital. This is going to be the 13th loss of the season that the Ottawa Rough Riders will have absorbed, and it has been quite a nightmare for football fans in the nation's capital.
Boy, once again, good blocking on the left side of that line. Chris Schulten again. Hudson kicking out that linebacker and allowed Lorenzo Graham to cut inside. They're down to about the 1-yard line. Here he comes again. Just a handoff, little toss. Now just find the hole. There you see Carty, 63, makes his block, and Graham's down close to the goal line.
Lorenzo Graham, 90 yards. He now has 91 as he dives into the end zone for the touchdown.
I think that was Hudson.
Pardon me, make it Hudson. It was Lorenzo Graham who was leading the blocking, and he is down.
Yeah, he's the guy that's hurt. He came up to make the lead block. He's in a little bit of pain, but Hudson goes in. Here he comes, number 33. Let's see just what he does do. He goes in to block out. Submarine block hits the legs, upsets him. Gadsden, number 25, the linebacker, goes in. Hudson goes in easy. He got up to spike the ball and fell down. He missed it.
I was watching Graham go into that end zone with Hudson right behind him, and I thought Graham had the ball. Freddie Dunbar is checking that leg. He must have banged that knee on the helmet of Zeke Gadsden.
Yeah, that's about what it looked like, because his leg wasn't in the ground, so maybe it's just a collision with the knee on the helmet of Zeke Gadsden as he was coming up the block for him. But this is not a good sight. You know, when you get, this is the guy that, you know, he's got to be very disappointed. He was looking forward to this game to make his mark.
Well, Scott's had a busy afternoon reporting on injuries. What have you got for us this time, Scott?
Well, Don, I haven't been quite as busy as has Leon Hatziano, the nose guard of the Ottawa Rough Riders. In the first half, he sprained his ankle, came back from that a few moments ago as he lay on the field. The problem was that he got a finger in the left eye. He said it felt like it had almost touched his brain. If he gets his vision back in a few moments, that is to say, if it unfogs and doesn't continue to be blurry, he'll likely be back.
That's one of the reasons more and more players are wearing those protective visors.
I don't blame him a bit. You know, up on that front line, you got not only linemen coming at you, you've got backs coming in there and they try to block. You get those fingers in the eye. I'd put those visors on if I were them. So take a look at it now. You'll see him coming to the right side of your screen. Number 25 is going to come in and submarine him right there. It's hard to tell just what he got because his legs weren't in the ground. He's up.
It almost appeared as though he did smack that helmet, that knee into the helmet of.
He looks a little
Zeke
woozy.
Gadsden.
That's me. I bet because he's not putting much weight on his legs, but he looks a little bit woozy. We'll have to find out. Scott will find out. He's rolling around down there for us.
Well, it's a reverse of the situation you see most often in that Argonaut offense. That time, Graham, the lead blocker for Hudson. Most times, Hudson leads Graham through the hole.
Yeah, Hudson is such a good blocker. We just take him for granted. It seems like every time the Argonauts make good yardage, Hudson has made a good block someplace. It was kind of surprising to see him take it into the end zone. He seems to be walking okay, just a little woozy.
37-3, the point after still to come with 39 seconds remaining in the third quarter. The Argos will be relieved to see that he is putting some weight on that leg. Lance Chomik converts the Warren Hudson touchdown. 38-3 is the score. The Toronto Argonauts have been scoring a lot of points during the course of this season, but the Ottawa Rough Riders have also been giving up a lot, more than 34 points a game.
Yeah, they're averaging, I think, 17 points offensively and giving up 34. Well, you're not going to win many football games, and this is even going to increase the total. Less offense and more defense, 38-3.
So Hank Olisic again prepares to kick off. He hasn't been able to get much distance with his kickoff so far in the ball game, and this one isn't as deep as one normally expects from Hank Olisic. Derek White, the kick return man, has stopped at the 35-yard line.
Well, we'll take a look at Bruce Elliott, the linebacker for the Toronto Argonauts. Also does the long snapping for the punts. Good special teams man coming downfield, trying to make the tackle. Is he going to get in on it? You're going to run all the way down there? Yeah, he's going to get in on the tackle.
Jeff Wickersham continuing at quarterback, gives the ball to Orville Lee. He'll have a gain of about 3 yards. 15 seconds remaining in the third quarter. 38-3 is the score.
We saw Bruce Elliott running down the field. He's from Western Ontario. Third-year man. Western Ontario still undefeated in college football. First place in that OUAA, 5-0.
Wickersham is buried by 3 Argo defenders. Glenn Kulka is there, along with Rodney Harding and Harold Hallman. There was a penalty flag on the play. Now, normally it would have been the final play of the third quarter, but let's listen to Jake.
Holding. Ottawa number 63. Decline. Third down. End of the quarter.
And the penalty is declined, so that's the end of the third quarter. The Argos lead it 38-3. To start the fourth quarter, Tom Dixon stands at his own 15-yard line. Got the kick away, but another short one that goes out of bounds. And they'll mark it at the 46-yard line.
The Argonauts had the blitz on trying to block that punt, and they came very, very close. In fact, Dixon went down. Willie Pless was talking to him going off the field. But I think we're going to get a look at John Congemi, and it's good to see him get a chance to play. You know, Don, we did that game where he started, and he had a lot of bad luck, or whatever you want to call it. He didn't go well for him, and he hasn't played much since. But here comes the pressure from the Argonauts. They only had Darrell Smith back, coming from the outside. A lot of white jerseys close, but they didn't get him. Pless didn't really hit him at all, did he?
John Congemi in at quarterback as we swing to the live action, and John Congemi to Warren Hudson, and he carries down to the 30-yard line, and there's another penalty flag. That last kick, by the way, of Dixon traveled just 17 yards.
Forward pass interference. Toronto number 67.
Forward. That's kind of a surprising call. Forward pass interference, 67.
Well, on the screen pass, obviously Chris Schultz must have blocked someone before the ball was thrown.
That's the only thing that could happen, you know, because of the fact that he's going to bounce the end and head downfield to make the key block. Usually the tackle gets out there to make a block for him. He must have hit somebody before the ball was caught.
That takes the ball back to the 54 of the Argos. First and 20. Congemi screening to the other side to Cummings. Well, he gets back about 14 of those yards. It will be 2nd and 6.
It's a pretty good throw. You know, first down 20 yards. You didn't try to get him all at once. You just dropped the screen off to Cummings, and as you say, he got back about 14, so now he's at a 2nd and 6, and he can do whatever he wants. Doesn't have to throw it if he doesn't want to.
Jeff Boyd goes wide left. White Edwards out to the right. Congemi will throw. He's got White Edwards open. He's got a first down at the 30-yard line.
Sure does. Put a pretty good hit on number 41, Braden, as he tried to make the tackle. Braden's just a little bit slow getting up, holding his arm. Sprint to your left. Plant designed to come backside right away because he turned immediately. Dwight Edwards ran it out. He makes a catch and then spins back inside. You can see the collision right here with number 41. Held his arm a little bit getting up, a little bit sore.
First and 10 Toronto there at the 30-yard line. John Congemi at quarterback gives to Cummings on the draw play, and he's stopped by Hassan Abubakar.
That's a pretty good look that when Abubakar coming from the defensive end position, Warren Hudson's supposed to block him, but if he comes on a very hard inside charge that he made right there, you're not going to be able to block him out. Hudson couldn't do it, and he makes the tackle.
12:40 the time left in the fourth quarter. 38-3, the Toronto Argonauts leading. They'll improve their record to 10-4. And they'll enjoy a 6-point advantage over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Jeff Boyd for the touchdown. John Congemi and Boyd made that one look easy.
Yeah, no help inside. Man-to-man coverage. Darrell Smith went down and ran it out to the outside. That took the halfback out of the way. Took him right out of the play, and then it was one-on-one. Boyd all alone with Derek White. And when the ball's thrown, there's no one inside. Boyd makes the catch. Nothing to it. As you say, Don, quarterbacks dream, and those are easy when you get that opportunity.
29-yard touchdown pass from Congemi to Jeff Boyd, and Lance Chomick has been a busy man today. He'll try the point after out of the hold of John Congemi. It's now 45-3, and we'll return with the Argo kickoff after this. Again, Hank Olisic prepares to kick off with 12:23 still remaining in the fourth quarter. 45-3. The Argos lead it. Their biggest margin of victory so far this season. Orville Lee starts out from the 10-yard line. The Ottawa Rough Riders will be scrimmaging 1st and 10 from about the 28.
I'll tell you what, when you run a wedge return and you get 4 or 5 jerseys leading you, somebody has to break the wedge. Here comes Drain. Look at Willie Pletz. He just takes him on. That is one heck of a collision with Patrick Wayne. And that's what you have to do to that wedge. You got to stack it up, pile it up, and don't create any seams. And Willie Pletz did a good job.
He's had a strong ball game defensively this afternoon for the Argos. A lot of people have played well for Toronto. Reggie Ward underthrown by quarterback Jeff Wickersham. It will be 2nd and 10.
Well, they're getting a lot of pressure on those Ottawa quarterbacks today. But, you know, if you think back, like Glenn Kulka and Rodney Harding in their first 9 games had 9 sacks. In their last 4 games, they had 11. So they're starting to get the pressure up front. As we talked about in the opening, that defensive line is doing the job. Willie could smile and enjoy himself. He's out of there. He can rest.
Makes the reception, and he'll have a first down. His initial catch of this ball game.
So I was going to say, now, it's hard to believe that they can throw the ball that many times, and Navarre makes his first catch. He caught 5 for him last week. He was the outstanding player for the Laurier Golden Hawks last year before he broke his leg and didn't get to take part in the playoffs. But he's just a down and break to the sideline, makes the catch, fights off one tackle, turns upfield, but can't get rid of Visco. Visco brings him down.
1st and 10, just outside the 40-yard line. Well, that ball landed well short of Remy Watson. It will be 2nd and 10.
Maybe that's what they meant when they said they're having trouble getting the ball to the wide receivers. But it did bounce, and that's the second one he's thrown. I think the pressure has got him intimidated a little bit back there, and it caused him to pull the string.
Chris Schultz, one of the big men among CFL offensive linemen, 6'8", 275 pounds. I think Chris Balby of Winnipeg has a slight edge. Gerald Alphen unable to hang on. Reggie Pleasant was there, so was Jake Vaughn.
Alphen looked like he was going to make a nice catch, and Reggie Pleasant saw that one coming. He's cut in front, and they both jumped for the football, and neither one could come up with it.
It's the first time I think they've gone to Alphen since early in the ball game.
This is Don Baldwin, the pass rusher that they got. Jim Reed's job blocking. All right, he's got outside you, take him right past the quarterback. That's a good job by Reed, but he's been doing it for 10 years.
Back to the live action, and this is a good kick by Tom Dixon. Paul Masadi on the return is stopped at the 37-yard line with 10:48 remaining in the ball game. It will be Toronto 1st and 10 when we return. It will be 1st and 10 Toronto. They are at their own 37-yard line, an indication of just how inept this Ottawa offense has been. 1 first down in the 3rd quarter, 1 first down in this 4th quarter. They've only had 9 in the ball game. 4 of those came in the 1st quarter, 2 of them on their opening series. Kangemi completes the pass to Masadi. He's got a first down out of bounds at the 54-yard line.
What was nice about that pattern is the way they ran it. Kangemi fakes a bootleg, which means it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get out there. Watch, here's the fake. Now he comes. They take their patterns a little bit deeper, and when Kangemi's ready to throw the football, Masadi's ready to catch it. That's good timing.
First and 10 from the 54. John Kangemi replaced starter Gil Renfro in this 4th quarter. He gives the ball to Ryan Hansen, who fights his way to the 51 of the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Well, the one good thing about it for the Toronto Argonauts, it gives them the opportunity to play everybody they've got and get them some actual playing time. So many times your backups never get in the game, so when you're called on them in a big situation, they don't have any playing time. And this is good for them.
Pavel Vilovich, in talking about Ryan Hansen, said he could be the bonus in the Jeff Boyd trade when he was acquired from Winnipeg as part of that deal. The ball was knocked out of the hands of John Congemi as he attempted to drop back to set up and throw.
Zeke Gadsden, number 25, comes from that linebacker position around it, and Congemi tried to slide to his left, but he reached out with his right hand. Watch him. He sees it coming, does what you're supposed to, step up, but he sees the ball knocked away by Zeke Gadsden, who was a pretty good pass rusher at the University of Pittsburgh. I think he was second in the entire NCAA last year in quarterback sacks.
You and I watched a college football game last year involving the University of Pittsburgh where he seemed to be in on every tackle.
Well, I remember that game because he's not the biggest guy in the world, and he made some great hits against Penn State. That's the game we were watching.
Good kick by Olisic, taken by Orville Lee. Nowhere to go. Good downfield coverage by the Toronto Argonauts. Bruce Elliott was the first there to make contact. 9:03 remains in the game.
The thing that you have to consider is the product itself. Is it worthy of support? People should appreciate the game for what it is. It's a faster paced, more wide open game, and that should be the strength of the league, the product that it has. The other problems, perceived or written about, however they may be, those things will be taken care of, providing that you have something to sell. And I certainly believe that we have a good product to sell.
Ottawa 1st and 10. The Rough Riders at their own 24-yard line following that 42-yard kick by Hank Olisic. Wickersham under pressure, escapes from Harold Hallman, gets away from Rodney Harding, but throws over the head of Gerald Alpin.
The immediate pressure upfield was number 74, Don Baldwin, forced Wickersham up. Then Harding looked like he was going to make the sack, and Wickersham escaped. But in doing so, he threw it away. This is where he escapes Rodney Harding. He grabs him, spins him around. Now it's survival. Get rid of the football because here they come again. And he overthrows everybody.
2nd and 10. Again, Baldwin is in there as they throw the screen. Jim Reed was hit by Ben Zambiasi at the 29, and he stopped short of a first down.
Good idea, though. You're getting a lot of pressure. Throw the screens. You got to slow that rush down somehow. See the screen pass coming. Dumps it right over Baldwin's head into Reed's arm. But really nowhere to go. Visco's here, number 90. Tackle Ben Zambiasi, catches him in midair and throws him down.
Tom Dixon stands at the 15-yard line for this 3rd down kick. Taken by Darrell Smith, and he's tackled as he got to the 51. 8:03 remains in the game. Scott?
Well, Don, there are a few more stops on the road to the Grey Cup, but it does lead to Lansdowne Park in Ottawa on Sunday, November 27th. The stadium's undergoing a facelift with the addition of some 15,000 extra seats. Those here on the north side dangerously close to the sidelines, only about 18 feet away from the action. The CBC is your Grey Cup network coast to coast. Grey Cup Sunday, the 27th, starts for us with our countdown show at 1 o'clock Eastern, followed by the Classic itself. Don?
Yes, and they anticipate 49,000 fans here at Lansdowne Park for the Grey Cup game. Which teams will be in attendance? The Toronto Argonauts would like to be back for that November 27th date as we see some of the stands that are being erected at either end of Lansdowne Park. 2nd and 10 for the Toronto Argonauts, the ball at the 50-yard line. Pass complete to Jeff Boyd for a Toronto first down.
You saw number 25, Zeke Gatson as the linebacker on that side. Now, when they drop to that defense, he has to get clear out underneath that pattern to Jeff Boyd, which is an impossibility. You see him at the bottom of the screen. Now, he has to turn and run about 25 yards, and he just can't get turned around in time, so Boyd makes the catch.
Jeff Boyd goes wide left, 6:58 remaining. He has scored a touchdown on a 29-yard pass from John Kangemi. Kangemi has played this fourth quarter after Gilbert Renfro started the ball game, and Kevin Cummings took over from the injured Lorenzo Graham, and he's got a first down.
That time, the Ottawa defense went to man-to-man coverage, which means they brought their halfback over to the 3-receiver side. So when they run the toss to the short side of the field by Cummings, there's no support. And as you saw, a big hole opened up.
Well, Kangemi has hit on 5 of 6 passes for 90 yards and a touchdown. The man he replaced, Gilbert Renfro, didn't do badly either. 18 of 28 for 246 yards. Cummings finds a hole, takes on a would-be tackler and drives him back, and he'll have a gain of about 8, maybe even 9 yards.
It's a good job up front by the interior of that offensive line. Ian Beckstead, Randy Ambrosi, and Jim Cardish. Good job of blocking because they spring Cummings right through there.
We talked earlier about the number of Central State products wearing the double blue. Kevin Cummings is one of them. Cummings gets the call again. He's got the first down as he crossed the 20-yard line before being driven back. Patrick Wayne and Troy Wilson combined to stop Cummings, but not before he had first down yardage.
Arberbacher, number 61, and then a little discussion with Cardish, 63. They had to break them up.
5:17 remains to be played. 45-3, the Argos lead. They're threatening to break 50 points in this October 8th date here at Lansdowne Park with the Rough Riders. 22 Toronto first downs, just 10 for the Rough Riders. 1 in the third quarter, 1 first down in the fourth. Kevin Cummings trying to get to the end zone. They rule that he has stopped at the 1.
Well, he was trying to get to the end zone. One day the blitz was coming. Just a real short sprint out, 20. Kevin Cummings right out in the flat, and Kangemi lets him have it right away. Can't get to him quick enough. He spins off from Patrick Wayne. Gets down just short of the goal line. Kyle Hall brings him down.
The Argos send out the short yardage offense for this first and goal from the 1-yard line. Cummings gets the call. He's got the touchdown, but there are penalty flags. Warren Hudson, the lead blocker.
Offside. Ottawa number 67. Decline. Touchdown.
Well, he made the nice catch, made a couple good runs during the drive. Gets behind that power. He's got 2 lead blockers, Hudson and Hanson. Now he goes airborne. Braden hits him in the air, but you're very seldom going to stop him if you're in the air. His momentum's going to carry him into the end zone. There you see Hudson and Hanson, the power I-backs leading them. If he just followed Hudson, he wouldn't have had to take that hit. It was wide open. Good job by the offensive line.
And the point after by Lance Chomick. 52-3. The Argos lead with 4:06 remaining.
Ten wins. This is their 10th win, getting close to mount those points up because Winnipeg's got that big game coming with Edmonton Monday afternoon. Hamilton's defeat last night, that's 2 points you can't get back.
Well, you've got the situation in the Eastern Division with the Toronto Argonauts atop the standings 10-5, Hamilton at 7-7, Winnipeg at 7-6, and as we mentioned, Winnipeg will be at home on Thanksgiving Day to the Edmonton Eskimos. So if Winnipeg should win that game, they would be 8-6, 4 points back of the Argos. They have that home-and-home series coming up on October 23rd and 30th. They play in Toronto on the 23rd at Winnipeg Stadium on October the 30th. So while the Argos do have the lead in the Eastern Division, they are by no means assured of finishing first. Derek White on the return got the ball back to the 30-yard line.
What they do, though, Don, is they put the pressure on Winnipeg now to keep winning so that when they get down to those back-to-back games with the Argonauts, that they can catch them and take first place. But they do put the pressure on the Bombers.
Watson comes wide left. Ward goes to the right. 1st and 10 from the 30-yard line. Here comes that pressure again, and Wickersham was fortunate to get the ball away. Reggie Ward was hit as he tried to go high for that throw. Ed Berry made contact with him. Wickersham did a good job of spinning away from the pressure.
Boy, sure did. Boy, because you watch number 77, Harding, come through clean. He gets the first shot at him. He spins away from that, and then Don Moan comes in to finish him off. He just threw it a little bit too high, but when you're trying to escape somebody like Harding, you aren't going to be on target all the time.
3:30 is the time left to play. 2nd and 10 for the 30-yard line. Kolka's after Wickersham. He got the toss away to Watson, but he's going to be about a yard, maybe 2 yards short of a first down. Well, no, they're going to rule that the ball is close to that 40-yard line.
He needs to get to the 40-yard line for the 1st and 10, so it's going to be 3rd down and about a half a yard.
In case some of you Argo fans are wondering when was the last time the Argos scored 50 points, it was in 1983 in a 50-16 win over Hamilton. 3:03 is the time remaining. Well, this 49-point advantage is the biggest spread ever in games involving the Argos and the Rough Riders. The Rough Riders gambling on 3rd down, penalty flags on the play. Wickersham keeping the ball, and he will have the first down depending upon the penalty call.
Offside. Trotter number 70. 1st down.
Harold Hallman called on the offside. You've done an interesting bit of research, Ron, and Harold Hallman figures in that. Number of Shenley Award nominees for Rookie of the Year wearing Toronto uniforms, I think number 7.
Yeah, it is surprising. I didn't know that either until I looked it around. Hallman, Ambrosi, Pless, Zambiazzi, Finnerty, Dwight Edwards, and Renfro were all nominated for the Shenley Rookie of the Year. Not necessarily with the Argonauts, but they're all on that club now.
Complete to Reggie Ward. He's got a first down to the 43-yard line.
Do you know that that's the first pass that they've completed over 3 yards downfield since the 1st quarter? Ward went down and found the hole in behind the linebacker, and Wickersham gets it up and over the top. There goes, right over top Don Moan's head. He makes the catch. They make the tackle. But that's the best downfield pattern they've thrown today.
2:40 is the time remaining. 1st and 10, Ottawa. They are at the Toronto 42-yard line. Wickersham dives and incomplete. Wickersham looking to the bench. We remind you that this program is copyrighted and is strictly for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, retransmission, or exhibition in whole or in part without the express written consent of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation is strictly prohibited. Wickersham trying to run. He's caught by Baldwin. An advance of about 2 yards. It will be 3rd and 8 with 2:23 remaining.
3rd and 8, you got to go. Just keep throwing the football. Need 8 yards. You're going to have to throw it downfield. Larry Moore brings in the play from the sideline. Orville Lee leaves.
The Ottawa Rough Riders were first on the board here this afternoon at Lansdowne Park with a 39-yard field goal by Tom Dixon, but since then it's been all Toronto. Watson in the end zone. It's intercepted by Reggie Pleasant. That's his third interception today. He pitches the ball off to Selwyn Drain. There's a penalty flag on the play back at the 23-yard line.
They're going to call this an illegal forward pass is what they're going to call it.
All the effort goes for naught as Nick Benjamin finally catches Selwyn Drain, who appears to be an extremely tired defensive back. And this one almost certainly is going to be brought back to the vicinity of the 23-yard line as we listen to Jake Ireland.
Offside pass. Toronto. First down.
Yeah, when Pleasant made the lateral, when he lateraled the football to Selwyn Drain, the referee was standing right there and watched the lateral. He ruled it to be forward, therefore it doesn't count. Selwyn Drain saying, why didn't somebody tell me?
Well, that interception and the run back, Reggie Pleasant initially lateraling to Selwyn Drain, went for 110 yards.
Here it is right here. Ball was pitched out. You couldn't get a good look at it on that side, but that lateral right there was ruled to be forward, therefore it didn't count.
And Nick Benjamin was the man downfield making the tackle. We've seen Benjamin do that in the past in pursuit of a defensive back with an interception, and he's run some of the allegedly speedier defensive backs down.
And the one I remember best was David Shaw, the corner for the Blue Bombers, when he ran him down from a long way back.
Kevin Cummings out to the 31-yard line with 1:32 remaining. The executive producer of the CFL on CBC television is Arthur Smith. The producer, Doug Sellers. Director, Brant Haywood. Inside the CFL, producer Steve Lansky. Isolation director, Mo Waters. And our thanks to the other members of our production and technical crew who have provided coverage of this game from Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. Kevin Cummings squirming his way through to the 40 for another Toronto first down.
Good quickness, good feet, the ability to change direction, went inside, outside, and then jump back inside. That's what coaches like to see. Good quick feet, good movement.
Well, the Argos have hit for 52 points this afternoon, but their biggest day in the CFL was a 63-point effort back in 1960 against the Montreal Alouettes. Toronto won that one 63-27. 42 seconds remaining. Bob Weber looking on. His team will absorb its 13th loss of the season. The 10th under his direction. He took over from Fred Glick 3 games into the season.
You had to look there, the man without the helmet, Benton Zambiazzi. You know, going down the stretch, he'll be playing that linebacker, middle linebacker position for Toronto can make a big difference when you need the veteran leadership in the playoffs. He's been there before.
Cummings again across the 45-yard line to about the 47 with 19 seconds remaining. Hassan Abubakar making the tackle. Well, after this 52-3 whipping, the Ottawa Rough Riders won't be anxious to face the Toronto Argonauts again, but they'll have to do that as they are in Toronto on Friday. That'll be the concluding game of the 4-game series between the two, and that's the end of the ball game. The Toronto Argonauts 52-3 victors over the Ottawa Rough Riders. And the Toronto Argonauts now with a record of 10 wins, 4 losses, and a 6-point advantage in the battle for first place in the Eastern Division over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So Bob Avilovich has to be pleased with the way his team performed this afternoon without Gil Fennerty, getting outstanding efforts from Lorenzo Graham before he was hurt, and then Kevin Cummings, as well as a strong quarterbacking chore out of Gilbert Renfro, and a good effort in the receiving department from Darrell Smith. 52-3, the final score at Lansdowne Park. Well, there were a number of strong individual efforts this afternoon by the Toronto Argonauts, but our selection as the game's MVP was slot-back Darrell Smith. He was on the receiving end of 7 throws for 119 yards, and he scored the game's first touchdown. And I think it was really Smith's ability to get open early in the ball game that got that Toronto offense rolling.
Yeah, he was going downfield, turning in, turning out. He would find the holes in the zone and
spot replacing Fennerty.
he did a good
This is CBC Television.